Chapter 1821. The Fire Wolf Clan's Decision. 1. 2 days ago, when his elder sister returned, she had told the elders in the clan about this matter. However, the opinions of the clan were not unified. The reason why he asked was because he wanted to know if Lung Ruox's identity as an alchemist was enough. Before coming here, the clan had put forward 2 backup plans. Regardless of whether Lung Ruoxue was an ordinary alchemist or an extremely experienced alchemist, they would naturally have a way to deal with her. And it was clear that the treatment of these 2 identities was different. I've never been to the Alchemist Guild headquarters to get certified. Lung Ruoxue said, a little embarrassed. Huoku was a little dumbfounded. Before she came, she had imagined many answers from Lung Ruoxue, but she had never expected to hear this. An uncertified alchemist. What should she do? There was a clear rule in the divine world that an alchemist who had not been certified was not qualified to be an alchemist. Moreover, the plan given to her by the elders did not include how to deal with this kind of situation. Thinking of this, the corner of Huoke's mouth could not help twitching. She was depressed. Looking at Huoke's conflicted expression, Lung Ruoxue smiled and said, although I haven't been to the Alchemist Guild for certification, you have to have confidence in my alchemy skills. I won't let you down. Lung Ruoxu's words were full of confidence, but Huoku felt a headache. Trust her? How could it believe her? Even if he believed her, the other beasties wouldn't dare to believe her. This was a huge problem. After all, if she took the medicinal pill concocted by an unlicensed alchemist, it was fine if she was safe and sound, but if something happened, the Alchemist Guild would not make a decision for the victim. Therefore, how could these beasts, who were not rich to begin with, be at ease with her? Gradually, Huoke's gaze towards Lung Ruoxue became more and more resentful. Now, it was really regretful. Why did it have to come here? It didn't need to come, but out of curiosity for this brave human, it came personally. It didn't expect such an outcome. How was it going to explain this to its people? Although I haven't been to the Alchemist Guild for certification, I have a lot of experience in refining pills. Lung Ruoxue smiled humbly. Then she passed a pill to Huoku and said, this is the pill I refined, you can test it. Huoku took the milky white elixir curiously. Although she was not very good at elixir making, she could tell that the quality of this elixir was good from the spiritual qi flowing on it and the faint light it emitted. It should be a high-level elixir at least. The quality of this medicinal pill is not bad. Miss Lung, can I ask you to refine it once in front of me? Huoku casually observed the elixir before making a request in embarrassment. It wasn't that she didn't believe Lung Ruoxu's words, but this matter was too important to them. After all, this concerned the future of the land of demons. Sure. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then, she took out an alchemy furnace from her bangle and placed it in front of her. The moment Huoku saw the alchemy furnace, her face was filled with shock. This alchemy furnace must be a divine artifact. In the firmament, there were not many alchemists who could use a divine artifact-grade alchemy furnace to refine pills. After all, the materials required to refine a divine artifact-grade alchemy furnace were extremely rare. Thus, no matter how rich an alchemist was, it was not easy to obtain a divine artifact-grade alchemy furnace. Now, it had more confidence in Lung Ruoxue. Following that, Lung Ruoxue ignited the furnace. The moment her natal flame appeared, a wave of scorching heat rushed towards her, causing Huoku to take a step back. Her heart was filled with fear. This flame was truly too terrifying. Huoku thought to herself with a lingering fear. At the same time, she felt very lucky that she didn't come with hostility. Otherwise, he would be able to finish her off with a fire. But very quickly, it was attracted by Lung Ruoxu's smooth movements. She placed the prepared herbs into the furnace one by one. The herbs entered the extremely high temperature of the furnace and melted into a pool of liquid. Next, it was purification and pill condensation. The whole set of movements was done without any sloppiness, and the movements were so perfect that it made people look askance and extremely dazzling. Not only that, the moment the pill was produced, the spiritual qi in the room surged, and almost all the spiritual qi in the room was attracted to it. As for Huoku, who was just a fire wolf watching the fun, She suddenly became excited. It was rare to have the opportunity to witness an alchemist refining a pill with her own eyes. After all, many alchemists were afraid of others watching them when they were refining pills. After Leng Ruoxue placed the pills into a jade bottle, she passed it to Huoku, who was looking at her with a greedy expression. She said, "The pills I refined just now are for replenishing spiritual energy. I'll give them to you." You're really giving it to me?" Huoku's wolf eyes widened and she said in disbelief. Although she didn't know the level of the elixir, she knew it was definitely not a low level after seeing it with her own eyes. This human was too generous. He gave her a bottle of elixir so easily. Was he dreaming? It felt as if it was in a dream. It was too unreal. Actually, there was a reason for Leng Ruoxue's generosity. Firstly, the pill she had just refined wasn't anything good in her eyes. Secondly, it's better to take it from others. If this beautiful fire wolf had taken her pill, would it not put in a good word for her? Huoku, who didn't feel that she had been tricked, still felt like she was in a dream at this moment. She was floating and couldn't come back to her senses for a long time. If it was said that when it knew that Leng Ruoxue was an uncertified alchemist, it felt depressed and conflicted, then now it was completely ecstatic. It had personally witnessed the process of refining the pills, so its confidence in Leng Ruoxue had increased greatly. With one look at those pills, it knew that they were good stuff. Furthermore, after eating them, there would definitely be no danger to its life. Actually, after finding out that Leng Ruoxue was refining pills without a license, it was more or less afraid. However, it was now at ease and the way it looked at Leng Ruoxue had become dreamy. If the land of evil demons had such an alchemist, then they wouldn't have to worry about medicinal pills in the future, it thought to itself happily. However, it was fortunate that Leng Ruoxue did not pry into Huoku's thoughts. Otherwise, she would definitely be depressed. Who asked Huoku to treat her as a black alchemist? Actually, she was just too lazy to make a trip to the Alchemist Guild. Don't be so surprised. Just as Huoku was immersed in ecstasy and excitement, a slightly mocking voice suddenly rang in her ears. Immediately, Huoku came back to her senses and looked around for the owner of the voice. "Where are you looking at? Stupid wolf, I'm on top of you." Upon hearing this, Huoku raised her head and looked up. She saw a petite purple fox lying on a tree above her. The fox glanced at her arrogantly before jumping down from the tree and into Leng Ruoxue's arms. "Master! My lovely master! Did you miss your baby?" Baby rubbed itself affectionately in Leng Ruoxue's arms, and even glanced at the stupid fire wolf as if to show off. Chapter 1822, The Fire Wolf Clan's Decision, 2. This is its potential enemy, so don't even think about being nice to it, Baby thought hatefully and looked at Huoku with an unfriendly gaze. Huoku was stunned by her baby's fiery silver eyes. It didn't offend this little fox, right? Why was this little fox glaring at it like it was an enemy? Those who didn't know would definitely think that there was some deep hatred between them. Huoku felt wronged. At this moment, Baby spoke again. "Stupid wolf, look at your ignorant face. You've never seen such a good pill, have you? To tell you the truth, the pill in your hand is what we usually eat." The baby was so arrogant that his face turned white. Huoku was stunned again after hearing what the baby said. What was asking for a beating? This was it. He clearly knew that it was not easy for the beastie to obtain medicinal pills, but he still provoked it like this. He was really bullying the beastie. The more Huoku thought about it, the angrier she got. In the end, she looked at Leng Ruoxue with tears in her eyes. I didn't expect this. Beastie was actually treated so well. Wasn't he trying to anger the beast to death? However, it couldn't do anything to that little fox that was extremely annoying. Hence, it could only put the blame on its master, Leng Ruoxue. It even wrote "compensate me" on its red face. I'm very aggrieved. However, Leng Ruoxue ignored its reaction and expression as if she didn't see it at all. Instead, her hand continued to caress her precious soft fur, giving it an itch. Seeing Baby closing its eyes in comfort, Huoku had to admit that it was a little jealous. Humans and beasts were usually enemies. Even if there was no enmity between them, They would respect each other and ignore each other. Even beasts who had acknowledged their masters could not get along so well with their masters. However, this fox and Lung Ruox's interaction was so natural and carefree. There was no trace of pretense at all. Huoku was very sure about this. However, if she guessed wrong, it could only mean that the fox's acting skills were too good. Miss Ling, I've already understood your alchemy standard. After a long while, Huoku took the initiative to speak. Otherwise, she didn't know how long her loving master and beastie would ignore her. It felt very aggrieved. Yes, and then? What's the opinion of your Firewolf clan? Lung Ruoxue asked directly. Miss Ling, our Firewolf clan had originally already discussed 2 sets of plans, but now there's a little accident. Because you haven't been certified by the Alchemist Guild headquarters, I have to go back and discuss it again with the elders before I can give you a final answer. However, you can rest assured that I will report your alchemy standard truthfully. Huoku spoke the truth. Her words were very sincere and she was even more careful. After all, she had seen Lung Ruox's alchemy skills and was very happy to have such an alchemist in the evil demon's land. All right. Lung Ruoxue nodded. After that, she sent Huoku out of the house. Baby, on the other hand, had returned to his usual self and wanted to visit the Firewolf clan with Huoku. Seeing that Huoku did not reject her, Lung Ruoxue agreed. 3 days later, Huoku came again, and so did his precious. Other than the 2 of them, there were 2 more burdens beside Huoku. One of them was the greedy little firewolf that Lung Ruoxue had met previously. The other one looked even smaller, with a pair of big, black eyes that looked timid. The moment it saw Lung Ruoxue, the little red wolf immediately shouted, "I'm hungry, I want to eat." After it finished speaking, it looked at Lung Ruoxue with tears in its eyes. It was as if Lung Ruoxue did not give it any food, and it would immediately start a storm. It looked so rascally. Lung Ruox's forehead was filled with black lines when she heard the little red wolf's words. If it wasn't for the sake of the Firewolf clan, she would have given the little wolf a good spanking. Meanwhile, when Huoku saw the little red wolf's behavior, she subconsciously took a large step back. It was as if the words "I don't know it" were written all over her face. That's right, if it was possible, Huoku really wanted to pretend that she did not know it. This nephew of hers had really embarrassed the wolves. It was fine if he was a little gluttonous in the clan, but now he was acting like this in front of humans. He was as hopeless as his father. Huoku sighed in her heart and looked at Lung Ruoxue with embarrassment. Her crystal-clear black eyes were filled with apology. "Grape, go and get some food for these 2 little fellows." Sighing lightly, Lung Ruoxue helplessly ordered Grape beside her. "Yes, miss." Grape smiled and nodded. Just as he was about to bring the 2 wolf pups down, he heard the red wolf pup say with a look of disdain, "Human, is her food as good as yours? I want to eat your cooking, so don't just find someone to fool me." Seeing the little red wolf acting like a big shot, Lung Ruoxue smiled. Her smile was like a flower in spring, stunning everyone. However, Huoku's heart was in her mouth. In the next second, Lung Ruoxue grabbed the little red wolf that was acting like a boss and said with a smile that was not a smile, "Little guy, your requirements are quite high." Upon hearing this, Huoku's heart was in her throat. However, the little red wolf had shifted to a more comfortable position in Lung Ruox's hands. It calmly allowed her to grab it. It knew that this human would not hurt it, so it was fearless. My father once said that as a wolf, you have to have high expectations and be worthy of your identity. Otherwise, you're not worthy of being the future king of the Firewolf clan. The little red wolf said arrogantly. "So that's how it is. In that case, you're the future king of the Firewolves?" Lung Ruoxue understood. However, she was worried that the Firewolf clan would have such an out-of-line future king. No wonder Huoku only said that she would discuss this with the elders last time. The king of the Firewolf clan was probably just a decoration in their clan. He did not have much say in this. Of course. "Ha, human, you're afraid." The little red wolf said arrogantly. If it was not in Lung Ruox's hands, its little tail would have been raised up. "Which part of me looks scared?" Little wolf's words made Lung Ruoxue speechless. "I'm the future king of the Firewolf clan. You're not afraid?" the little red wolf said in disbelief. It looked at Lung Ruoxue as if it was looking at a monster. I'm not afraid. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Why are you not afraid of me? You must know that I'm very powerful. The little red wolf was a little annoyed. It could be considered a little overlord in this land of demons. Many young beasts followed its lead and were its little followers. Therefore, it couldn't understand why a human like it wasn't afraid. Which part of you is amazing? I can only tell that you're a glutton. Lung Ruoxue spoke the truth, and her words had completely hurt the little red wolf's pride. Chapter 1823, The Fire Wolf Clan's Decision, 3. Human. You'll regret it if you look down on me. The little red wolf howled in anger. Then, it bit Lung Ruoxue's wrist viciously. Following that, a set of contract rules enveloped Lung Ruoxue and the little red wolf. The little wolf recognized its master. All of a sudden, all the people and beasts present were dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did he suddenly recognize her as his master? Compared to the confusion of Grape and the others, Hoku knew what was going on. This could only be considered an accident because the Fire Wolf clan's master recognition was somewhat different. As long as they bit the other party, the master recognition contract would automatically come into effect. Therefore, the Fire Wolf clan's clansmen had been warned from a young age not to randomly bite people, or else the consequences would be very troublesome. But now, it seemed that there was really trouble. This nephew of his was the future king of the Fire Wolf clan. Now that he had acknowledged a master, what would happen to the Fire Wolf clan in the future? The king's position of the Fire Wolf clan was not something that could be claimed by the capable. It was passed down through the bloodline. Hence, Little Wolf was born to be the king of the Fire Wolf clan. This was something that no one could change, even if it was out of line. Otherwise, the king of the Fire Wolf clan would not have become a mere decoration in the clan. Even so, the position of the royal bloodline was still as solid as Mount Tai. No wolf could replace it. This was also what made the Fire Wolf clan different from the rest. After the rules of the contract were over, the red wolf cub cried out. It didn't expect that it would become owned after just one bite of this human. It was the king of the Fire Wolves, and it didn't want its master to restrict it. Thinking of this, the little red wolf cried even more sadly. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could only look at it helplessly. After all, this matter was a little out of her expectations. Seeing that the little wolf was crying nonstop, she looked to Hoku for help. However, Hoku only put on a helpless expression. There was really nothing she could do about this matter. He didn't know how the clan members would react when they found out about this. After an unknown period of time, the red wolf cub's cries turned from loud to soft, and slowly, it only sobbed. However, it had no place to vent the grievances in its heart, and no one came to comfort it. Wu, thinking of this, it was ready to cry again. Suddenly, a familiar fragrance wafted into its nose. The wolf cub, who was about to cry, forced back his tears and looked around for the source of the fragrance. Seeing the delicious food on the table, the red wolf cub's eyes lit up and it immediately pounced towards the food. Its actions were extremely fast. Then, the wolf cub swept the food on the table like a storm. It even looked at the people and beasts present with a trace of vigilance in its black and bright eyes. At this moment, it couldn't care about crying. All their attention was on the food. They were all his. This food was all its, and no one was allowed to snatch it. Whoever snatches it will be bitten. The wolf cub secretly cursed in his heart. Lung Ruoxue was thoroughly convinced when she saw how familiar it was with its eating manner. As expected of father and son. Even the way he ate was exactly the same. Furthermore, the charm of the food to this little glutton was extraordinary. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue's playful gaze turned to Hoku. Seeing this, Hoku quickly turned her head away, too embarrassed to look her in the eye. At this time, the wolf cub had already swept the food on the table clean. It wiped its mouth with its small claws and patted its small belly. Then, it lay on the table with its 4 legs up. It was so full that it didn't want to move. Ignoring the little wolf's lazy appearance, Lung Ruoxue smiled at Hoku and said, Hoka, let's talk about serious business. All right. Hoka nodded. They had to talk about business, but how could they solve this? His nephew had unexpectedly acknowledged him as his master. How was he going to tell his sister when he returned? When it thought of its hot-tempered sister, its heart couldn't help but tremble. His sister would definitely fly into a rage, but this was really just an accident. Huoku felt a little embarrassed. She looked at Leng Ruoxue with a hint of sympathy in her eyes. My sister might take her anger out on this human. So, how could this happen? Although Leng Ruoxue didn't know why Huoku was looking at her with sympathy, she knew it must be because of the little wolf's acknowledgement of its master. However, this wasn't her fault, so she would definitely not take the responsibility. If the mother wolf had any opinions, she could go find her naughty son. Speaking of which, she was also a victim. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue glanced at little wolf, who had finished eating and was ready to sleep. She then brought Huoku to the living room. As soon as they entered the living room, Huoku went straight to the point and told them the Fire Wolf clan's reply. Miss Leng, after our Fire Wolf clan's research, we agreed to let you set up your territory in the evil demon land. However, it's useless if we agree alone. The other beast clans must also agree. Otherwise, you still can't set up your territory here. Otherwise, there will be trouble. Huoku said honestly. That day, when it returned, it showed the elders the pill that Leng Ruoxue had given it. When the more knowledgeable elders saw the pill, they were pleasantly surprised. Leng Ruoxue's status as an unlicensed alchemist could not stop their passion for pills. After all, an alchemist who could refine pills of such high quality was definitely not an ordinary person. Hence, Leng Ruoxue's unlicensed pill refining was naturally overlooked by them. In reality, this was even better. This way, not many people would know of Leng Ruoxue's abilities, and they would be able to avoid many competitors. After all, the value of an alchemist rose with the tide. They, beastie, couldn't afford to hire an alchemist of too high a status. Thank you for your reminder. I will think of a way to convince the other beasts. However, I still need you to help me introduce them to each other. Leng Ruoxue smiled in satisfaction. With the help of the wolf clan, she didn't have to waste her energy looking for the other beasts. Once she dealt with the troublesome wolf clan, she was confident that she could take down the other beasts. That's not a problem. The elders have already spread the news of you setting up a territory here. I believe that it won't be long before the other beast clans react. Moreover, the elders have arranged for them to gather in the clan in 2 days. At that time, you can attend and think of a way to convince them. Hoka told her about the Fire Wolf clan's arrangements. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, the smile on her face grew wider. The Fire Wolf clan was very tactful. Then, Leng Ruoxue asked Huoku about the main characteristics of the other beast clans, especially the personalities of those who had the right to speak. After that, Leng Ruoxue brought the group to the Fire Wolf clan's territory to get closer to them. When they arrived at the Fire Wolf clan's territory, Leng Ruoxue knew almost all of the fire wolves in their clan. However, the wolf's father's gaze when he looked at her became even more resentful. This left Leng Ruoxue puzzled no matter how much she thought about it. Chapter 1824. The Decision of the Fire Wolf Clan. 4. It was only after that Leng Ruoxue found out that the evildoer had thrown him into the stinky swamp. He had bathed for a few days, but his wife did not even allow him to take half a step closer to her. This had made him a resentful husband for a long time. However, after finding out about this, Leng Ruoxue did not pity him at all. Who asked him to be so smug back then? Leng Ruoxue and the rest stayed in the Fire Wolf clan's territory for almost 2 days. It was only on the morning of the 3rd day that the Fire Wolves came to inform them that the representatives of the beast clans had arrived. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she immediately brought the demon, Uncle Long, her godfather, and Feng De to the Fire Wolf clan's meeting hall. Although it was called a hall, it was actually just casually built from a few pieces of wood. The Fire Wolf clan did not have high requirements for their residence. Basically, a tree hole was enough to hide in. Those who were more particular would build a tree house on a tall tree, but there were no decorations in the house. It was unbelievably simple. Therefore, when her house was lit up, the fire wolves were stunned. Even though they had long heard that this human woman had a beautiful house, it was not as shocking as seeing it with their own eyes. In order to befriend them, Leng Ruoxue had even generously invited them to her house as guests. Many of the fire wolves saw that Leng Ruoxue was so easy to get along with, so they did not stand on ceremony and moved in directly. However, the mother of the wolf cub, the female wolf, looked at Leng Ruoxue with eyes filled with anger, who asked her precious son to acknowledge this human as his master. Fortunately, it was a female wolf that knew how to look at the big picture. Moreover, Huoke had explained to it in detail that Leng Ruoxue had not done it on purpose. Therefore, even though it was angry, it did not make things difficult for Leng Ruoxue. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she naturally didn't bother about its attitude. After all, anyone who encountered such a situation would be angry. After entering the main hall, Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes first scanned the beasts present. She saw that there was a wide variety of beasts in the hall, and their sizes were all different. The big ones were like small mountains, while the small ones were not even the size of a human's palm. Among these beasts, not only were there beautiful foxes and leopards, but there were also ugly giant rhinoceros, lizards, scorpions, and so on. It was likely that all the beasts in the land of demons had arrived. The beasties were also sizing her up with curiosity. When the Fire Wolf clan's grand elder saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest, he immediately invited them to take a seat. As for the beasts present, there was no need to be so particular. Some of them were lying down, some were sitting down, and some were squatting. Leng Ruoxue and the rest sat down, but before they could speak, some beastie asked impatiently, "Human, I heard you're an alchemist? If we let you set up your territory here, then the pills." The one who spoke was a pitch-black bear. It was almost 2 meters tall and had a huge body. Its voice was simple and honest. However, it only finished half of its sentence before it stared unblinkingly at Leng Ruoxue with its huge bear eyes. The other beasties did the same. Before they came here, the Fire Wolf clan had sent their wolf to inform them of the Fire Wolf clan's decision. The beasts were convinced of the Fire Wolf clan's intelligence. Therefore, the Fire Wolf clan's decision had made their minds active. Hence, when they first saw Leng Ruoxue, they were very friendly. However, they still had to ask him personally before they could be at ease. This was not because they did not trust the Fire Wolves, but because they were cautious by nature. After hearing the black bear's words, Leng Ruoxue smiled and promised, "Since I've decided to set up my territory in the land of evil demons, we're neighbors. If you need medicinal pills in the future, feel free to come to me. I can give you ordinary medicinal pills, but you'll have to prepare the materials for the better medicinal pills. I can help you refine them for free. How about it?" Leng Ruoxue had thought of these thoughts through her own experiences. The reason why she was so generous was because she was facing a group of beasties. If it was a human, she would not dare to be so arrogant. After all, many humans were greedy, while beasties were much more innocent. "Miss Leng, is what you're saying true?" When the Fire Wolf clan's first elder heard this, he beamed with joy. Previously, they had only thought that with an alchemist like Leng Ruoxue as their neighbor, it would be easier for them to need elixirs in the future. Hence, they had never thought of getting them without putting in any effort. However, now that Leng Ruoxue had said that she would give them the elixirs for free, even if she helped them refine them, it would be free. This was definitely a huge surprise to them. It seemed like they had made a wise decision. After seeing the satisfied smiles on the faces of the other beasts, the old wolf felt that the Fire Wolf clan was in luck. After all, they were the ones who had met Leng Ruoxue first. This was an advantage. Not only that, but their young master had also acknowledged Leng Ruoxue as his master. With this bond, their relationship with Leng Ruoxue was as solid as iron, and no one could think of breaking it. Previously, when it learned that the young master had accidentally recognized him as its master, it was still a little depressed. But now, it felt that this was a good thing. As such, the way it looked at Leng Ruoxue became gentler. "Of course. I've always been friendly to beastie. In the future, when you have the chance to see my beastie, you'll know," Leng Ruoxue said with a faint smile. She had yet to reveal her beasts to them, and they were her trump cards. She had originally planned to use them when she could not deal with these beasts, but it seemed like she would not need to use them now. Ha! I believe that. The old fire wolf laughed out loud. The little fox had been living here for a few days and had been talking about the good things about its master in their ears every day. It had made their ears grow calluses from listening to it, so how could they not know about this? If any of you have any more questions, ask them now. At this moment, the old fire wolf said to the beasts. Following that, the beasts began to ask questions one after another while Lung Ruoxue patiently answered them one by one. Just like that, a day passed quickly. However, out of caution, they did not immediately give their own answers. Instead, they temporarily settled down in the Fire Wolf clan's territory. Chapter 1825. Master Recognition 1. As soon as they settled down, the Fire Wolf clan's territory instantly became lively. In reality, the reason why they chose to stay here temporarily was because they hoped to spend more time with Lung Ruoxue and see her character. After all, they did not have a good impression of humans and were not too willing to live next to them. However, Lung Ruoxue's identity as an alchemist was too alluring, and they could not resist this temptation. In contrast, their attitude towards Lung Ruoxue was much better than other humans. This had a lot to do with Lung Ruoxue's unparalleled affinity. Lung Ruoxue had always been friendly to the beasts. In addition to her deliberate attempt to befriend them, the beasts found it hard to reject her. Hence, they had a great time in the Fire Wolf clan's territory. However, the beasts were not as friendly to others as they were to Lung Ruoxue. Even so, they were still better than strangers. Sitting in the garden of the house, the master of the Ning family looked gloomily at Uncle Long, who was sitting opposite him. He didn't say anything for a long time. His expression made Uncle Long feel uncomfortable all over. After a while, Uncle Long couldn't stand it anymore. I say, Ning family boy, if you have something to say, then say it. Why are you looking at me like that? You're going to scare me. Uncle Long sighed and said helplessly, I'm very depressed. The master of the Ning family said weakly. He had miscalculated. He had really miscalculated. Never in his dreams did he expect that things would develop like this. What was going on? The beasts clearly did not have any good feelings towards humans, but why were those beasts so warm towards that little Shui? They were so passionate that it made people envious. This was really too abnormal. Basically, these past few days, there were always beasts who invited Shui to bond with them, and every time they returned, Shui would bring a large pile of gifts from the beasts. Although most of them were medicinal herbs and mineral materials, but he had to admit that there were some things that he was envious of. This shouldn't be the case, right? The more the master of the Ning family thought about it, the more incredulous he felt. This kind of thing seemed like a fantasy. It was fine if one group of beasts did it, but the strange thing was that almost every group of beasts did it. Did they not know that Shui was a human? Or did they treat Shui as one of their own? Master Ning was a little confused. Actually, he was overthinking it. If Lung Ruoxue knew what he was thinking, she would definitely tell him that she and the beasts were just returning the favor. Furthermore, the beasts were completely trying to get on her good side, and both sides were on equal footing when they interacted. This was also the main reason why the beasts liked to befriend her. It was because she respected those beasts and would not look down on them. Even if the other party was a very weak beast, she would still treat them the same way. I know. Hearing the words of the master of the Ning family, Uncle Long nodded, but he couldn't stop sighing in his heart. The Ning family's boy's depression was written all over his face. If he still couldn't see it, then his eyes were too bad. Don't beastie hate humans? The master of the Ning family looked at Uncle Long with a sad face, his handsome face full of confusion. It's very annoying. At least, there aren't many people who can get along with the beasts like this little girl. However, this little girl is very approachable, so it's only natural that the beasts like her. Uncle Long understood. Lung Ruoxue had never disdained any beast, and she was also an alchemist. It would be strange if those beasts did not like her. Then what should I do? The master of the Ning family wanted to cry but had no tears. What do you mean? Uncle Long frowned, his face full of question marks. What if those beasts agree with Shui to set her territory here? The master of the Ning family couldn't help but growl angrily when he saw that Uncle Long was playing dumb. Then you should just agree. If all of the beasts agree to let Shui make this her territory, then your worries will naturally disappear. What's there to worry about? Besides, you've seen how they get along with each other, so you should be even more at ease. Uncle Long said with a faint smile. He was very relieved now. But in this situation, there are wolves in front and tigers behind. How can I truly be at ease? Master Ning was still afraid that Leng Ruoxue was here. If something happened and he couldn't come to her rescue in time, wouldn't she blame him to death? Shui is not a child anymore. Instead of worrying about her so much, why don't you worry about your own descendants? I feel that there are many people in your Ning family who are more worrying than Shui. Uncle Long reminded. They're not kids. If you can't even protect your own life, then there's no need to live in this world. The moment Master Ning heard Uncle Long mention his descendants, he immediately became cold-blooded again. In fact, he had always been like this. It was only when he was facing Leng Ruoxue that he became indecisive and worried. Ha! You're so biased, but it's true. If your own descendants don't live up to expectations, who can you blame? Uncle Long smiled and nodded. Although he didn't have any descendants, he had basically watched the younger generation of the endless ocean grow up. Therefore, they were similar to his descendants. However, he was the same as the Ning family's boy. He didn't pay too much attention to them. Otherwise, he would worry about them all the time and they would never be able to grow up. In fact, he was only slightly better to Leng Ruoxue, but he didn't interfere with her decisions too much. The Ning family's boy was obviously different. The Ning family brat treated the little girl as a baby who had not been weaned off milk. He wanted to do everything for her, but Shui was an independent child, so the Ning family brat had no use at all. It was also in this comparison that many of the Ning family's clansmen were even more useless. Therefore, as the master of the Ning family, he looked down on his own clansmen more and more. So, if he and the Ning family's boys' positions were switched, he would probably have the same thought, because he understood the heart of someone who hated iron for not meeting steel. That's right, I'm not their nanny. If I don't want to work hard, how can I follow them all the time? I'm not that bored. The master of the Ning family seemed to have found a soulmate and said in deep agreement. You don't keep an eye on them, so you have your eyes on the little girl? Uncle Long said with a helpless smile. Shui is a girl. Of course, girls are meant to be pampered. Master Ning said matter-of-factly. As far as I know, the Ning family has a lot of girls, right? You'll be in even more pain when you're back. Uncle Long teased. They're waiting for me to be in pain, so I have to be in pain? I will only love those that I truly want to love, and as for those Ning family clansmen, if I really show a little interest in anyone, they will immediately raise their tails. Do you believe it? The master of the Ning family asked. I do. Uncle Long said. Although he wanted to say that it was normal, he would not like a junior like that. Brother Long, give me an idea. If these beasts all agree to Shui territory being set up here, what should we do? As he spoke, the master of the Ning family returned to the topic of running away and looked at Uncle Long with anticipation. Chapter 1826, Master Recognition 2. Didn't I say that you would agree to it? What else can we do? Uncle Long was a little speechless. Why was the Ning family's boy's memory so bad? But the problem is, I don't want to agree. The master of the Ning family said honestly. You think that's possible? Uncle Long raised his eyebrows and asked the master of the Ning family. I know it's impossible, that's why I'm asking you. The master of the Ning family reminded. Ning family's boy, to be honest, the current situation is very good, and the beasts here welcome Shui, so your previous concerns are no longer a problem. In that case, what's there to object to? Uncle Long really couldn't understand, because he knew very well that no one could easily change Shui's mind once she had decided on something, and the Ning family's boy was no exception. It's not that I'm afraid. The master of the Ning family had just said a few words when he was interrupted by Uncle Long again. The little girl always says, since we're here, We should take things as they come. There's no need for you to worry about this now. Besides, you should believe in her ability. That little girl isn't that easy to bully. Besides, aren't I still here? Uncle Long rushed to say. It's easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to defend against an arrow shot from the dark. We're in the light while the enemy is in the dark. Who knows what the other party will do? The master of the Ning family said disapprovingly. Then he had an idea and said, by the way, none of the beasts here have recognized Shui as their master yet, so she hasn't fulfilled my conditions yet. Ha! I can openly oppose this. It was really chaotic to be concerned. How could he have forgotten the reason for the crown? After being depressed for a few days, the master of the Ning family blamed himself. Hearing the master of the Ning family's words, Uncle Long couldn't help but look at him with sympathy. What could he say? If this condition could really be a reason to stop Shui from setting up her territory here, then he would not have let the Ning family kid agree to this. Because in his eyes, this was nothing. Based on Lung Ruox's interactions with the beasts these few days, he was very sure that as long as the little girl revealed this thought, the beasts that did not want the little girl to leave because of this resistance might automatically recognize her as their master. At that time, the Ning family's brat would not be able to do anything at all. Instead of doing that, it would be better to agree to it as soon as possible. However, Master Ning was not as open-minded as he was. It's decided then. I'll use this condition to stop her. The master of the Ning family didn't notice Uncle Long's sympathy for him and said to himself, good luck then. Uncle Long sighed helplessly. Since the Ning family's boy wouldn't turn back until he hit the south wall, then he could only watch this old boy's head break and bleed without any sense of loyalty. Uncle Long thought to himself with evil intentions. The master of the Ning family, who thought he had thought of a good reason, was in a good mood and even started to hum a song. Looking at the master of the Ning family's smug face, Uncle Long tactfully shut his mouth. Then, the two of them started to stare at each other. Just as the two of them were silent, Grape's voice suddenly entered their ears. Stop following me. If you do, I'll tell on you to your wife. Grape's tone was very fiery, showing her depressed mood at the moment. I'm hungry. I'm hungry too. Two pitiful voices were heard almost at the same time. The master of the Ning family and Uncle Long looked in the direction of the sound curiously. Grape, what's wrong? The master of the Ning family asked, pretending to be puzzled. Didn't they just finish eating? Why was this pair of gluttons hungry again? The two hungry voices belonged to the Fire Wolf father and son duo. They said they were hungry and kept pestering me to get them food. Grape walked to Master Ning and Uncle Long's side and said gloomily, damn it. It had only been less than an hour since they had eaten, and the pair of foodies were hungry again. Furthermore, they had eaten the most during the meal just now. I really don't know why they like to be hungry so much. She was helpless. Moreover, ever since they had eaten the food she had cooked, this father and son pair had been pestering her, always asking her to make food for them, which made her extremely annoyed. Especially that damn little fire wolf. It used to despise her cooking skills, but after knowing that the dinner of these people was made by him and Lotus Seed, and that its miss rarely cooked, it unwillingly stuck to her. However, what she couldn't understand was why the father and son only looked for her for food and not the Lotus Seeds. In fact, it wasn't without reason that this father and son pair had targeted her. In their eyes, although the grapes looked fierce on the outside, they were kind on the inside and easy to talk to. On the other hand, although Lotus Seed looked rather peaceful, she was not as easy to get along with as the grapes. As for Lung Ruoxue, they did not dare to pester her to get them food. So they naturally pestered the grapes. Didn't you just eat? Why are you hungry again? Master Ning was speechless. How much could this father and son eat? It was reasonable to say that cultivators would not get hungry so easily. Furthermore, Shui and the rest basically ate 3 meals a day. This was the eating habit of ordinary people. For gods, they didn't need to eat so frequently, but this father and son were obviously unusual. Yes, I'm hungry again. The little red wolf nodded its little head in all seriousness. Then, it pouted its little mouth in grievance. Its dark round eyes were glistening with tears, as if it was about to cry again. "Don't cry. I'll beat you up if you dare to cry." Seeing this, Grape quickly threatened. The wolf cub had no choice but to hold back its tears and look at Grape pitifully. "I'm your young lattice beastie, you can't be so fierce to me." The wolf cub mustered up his courage and reminded, "My son is right. I'm the father of your little miss and beastie, you can't be so fierce to us." Father Wolf also added. After saying that, his bright black eyes looked at the grapes expectantly, as if saying, "Hurry up and make me something to eat." Listening to their shameless words, Grape's face turned from white to green, and then to black. Then she roared, "Fuck your little Miss Beastie and little Miss Beastie's father. I'm also Miss Maidservant. Don't try to show nepotism in front of me. I'm telling you, Miss doesn't like this. Hurry up and disappear from my sight. Otherwise, I'll go to your mother and your wife to tell on you." The Grape threatened angrily. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't beat this crazy old fire wolf, she would have beaten it up. It was really too infuriating. What the hell is this? A good beastie has learned to be bad. Really, the upper beam is not right, the lower beam is crooked. This wolf father and son duo were not normal at all. Mom can't let me go hungry either. The little red wolf lowered its head in fear, but it still muttered fearlessly. That's right. My wife can't stop me from eating." Father Wolf continued to echo. Chapter 1827, Master Recognition, 3, Damn it. I can't take it anymore. Grape was furious. She really wanted to curse. But the next second, she strode out of the garden full of resentment. As she walked, she consoled herself, "Calm down." He had to be calm. He couldn't be angered by this father and son, or he would become a joke. Watching Grape's back, Master Ning and Uncle Long looked at each other and laughed out loud. Haha. The two of them laughed so hard that they were on the verge of tears. This was really too funny. "Grandpas, what are you laughing at?" Seeing the Ning family head and Uncle Long laughing so happily, the little fire wolf asked with a puzzled face, and a trace of shyness appeared on his face. It couldn't afford to offend these two old grandpas, so it had always been obedient and cute in front of them. "I'm laughing at you guys. You guys are so cute," the master of the Ning family said happily. Thank you for your praise, Grandpa Ning." The little red wolf said a little embarrassedly. After saying that, it even lowered its head shyly. Hearing the little wolf's words, Master Ning's forehead was full of black lines. He knew that this little guy couldn't be praised. Once he was praised, he would get carried away. Moreover, what he said just now wasn't a compliment, was it? Seeing through Master Ning's thoughts, Uncle Long lowered his head and chuckled. Suddenly, a deafening roar was heard. "Damn it, you're here to embarrass me again?" With that, a red lightning appeared in the garden. Needless to say, the mother wolf was here to catch the wolf. "What? I'm here, I'm so scared." The little red wolf jumped into the arms of the master of the Ning family exaggeratedly, seeking protection. Father Wolf also wanted to hide, but his body was too big. Before he could escape, he was caught by his wife. The fierce female wolf grabbed the huge fire wolf's ear like a wolf and roared, "You glutton! You only know how to embarrass yourself. Let's go. Come home with me and I'll discipline you." After she finished speaking, the relatively petite female wolf very valiantly dragged the pitiful, but not angry, and not daring to speak, huge fire wolf out of the house. As for the little wolf, it was ignored by the female wolf. Anyway, the little guy had already recognized its master, and as its mother, it could not care too much. After they left, the master of the Ning family couldn't help but ask curiously, "Little fellow, what is your family's discipline?" He didn't expect wolves to have family laws. This was really unheard of. Mom said that gossiping is not a good child. The wolf cub stared at him with its round black eyes and said very seriously, Hearing this, the master of the Ning family couldn't help but pull a long face. He was speechless, but Uncle Long couldn't help but laugh even more happily. Haha. Uncle Long laughed without restraint. Looking at these energetic and cute little guys every day, he felt a lot younger. Uncle Long, why are you smiling so happily? At this moment, Lung Ruoxue walked into the garden with the demon. When she heard the laughter coming from the garden, she could not help but ask, "Shuer, you're too late. Didn't you see a good show of a fierce wife disciplining her husband?" Uncle Long said with a smile. What fierce wife scolding husband? Lung Ruoxue was confused. However, as soon as she finished speaking, she heard a series of painful wails accompanied by moans coming into the house. Lung Ruoxue's face darkened. When did the sound insulation of this house become so bad? Even the sounds from outside could be heard. It's my mother who's punishing father. Poor father. I'm afraid I won't be able to get out of bed for a long time again. The little wolf said faintly, but its words were particularly intoxicating, making people's imagination run wild. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh. Children these days were really mature. The truth was just as the wolf cub had said. The wolf cub's father had not appeared in front of the public for quite a while. In the words of the female wolf, her husband was tired and resting. Upon hearing this, Lung Ruoxue came to a conclusion. Like mother, like son, this was really not a family, not one family. The wolf cub's father had been punished by his wife and was unable to appear in front of the crowd. The only one pestering the grape for food was the wolf cub. However, the wolf cub's words carried little weight and it couldn't cause any big waves on its own. Thus, the grape often ignored its existence. Whenever the wolf cub complained to its master that the grapes were abusing children and not giving it food, Lung Ruoxue would give the wolf cub a good spanking. The wolf cub was her beastie now anyway. She restrained her beastie and no one could say anything. However, the wolf cub was a typical example of someone who only remembered to eat but not to be beaten. Even though it said that it would remember every time it was beaten, it would return to its old ways once it encountered food and forget what it had said. As time passed, Lung Ruoxue was too lazy to pay attention to it, and the grape naturally ignored it even more. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, he had already stayed in the Fire Wolf clan's territory for nearly half a month. In this half a month, Lung Ruoxue's relationship with the magical beasts had improved by leaps and bounds. In this period of time, there were even more magical beasts who expressed their welcome to Lung Ruoxue, saying that they welcomed her to settle down here. On the last day of the deadline that Godfather had given, all the magical beasts in the land of demons had agreed to let Lung Ruoxue set up her territory here. This situation was within Lung Ruoxue's expectations. However, only the master of the Ning family was not very happy to hear this news. On the evening of the last day of the deadline, the master of the Ning family called Lung Ruoxue to the living room and looked at her with a serious face. "Shuer, today is the last day. I know, Godfather. All the beasts in the land of evil demons have agreed for me to set up my territory here, so you won't object to it, right?" Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Her expression was extremely relaxed. "Shuer, back then, the condition we agreed on was that they had to acknowledge you as their master, even if it was only one branch of the beast clan. But now, it seems that other than that little wolf, no other beast has acknowledged you as their master. So, you have not fulfilled my request." The master of the Ning family laughed evilly, a cunning look in his eyes. However, would Lung Ruoxue let him do as he wished? "Godfather, why don't you tell me this tomorrow? If you don't agree because the beasts don't recognize you as their master, then you can tell me about this tomorrow. According to our original agreement, you'll lose tomorrow." Lung Ruoxue said calmly. There was not a single trace of panic on her beautiful face. "I'm your godfather, how can I be so unrefined? Moreover, today is the last day, so I naturally have to remind you. Otherwise, if I tell you tomorrow, you'll blame me for it." The master of the Ning family said righteously. In fact, the reason why he chose to say it tonight was because he didn't believe that this little girl could make a beast clan recognize her as its master in one night. Chapter 1828, Master Recognition 4. Then, thank you for your reminder, Godfather. Lung Ruoxue left. She then called Feng Da in and instructed him, Fengde, go and tell the beasts in the land of demons that I can't set up my territory here because none of the beasts have recognized me as their master. This is the basic requirement for Godfather to allow me to set up my territory here. Yes, Miss. Fengde replied, then turned around and left with a snicker. Little girl Shui, have you thought it through? Lung Ruoxu's words made Master Ning laugh to himself. He was indeed smart. This time, Shui had no other way. This result made him even more smug. Lung Ruoxu nodded, not saying a word. After a while, Fengde came back. Miss, the representatives of the beast clans want to see you. Fengde reported. Oh, are you done with them? Lung Ruoxu asked despite knowing the answer. I'm done. After they heard it, they were a little agitated, so they strongly requested to see you. Fengde laughed in his heart. Then let them in. Lung Ruoxu nodded. Then Fengde left the living room. When he reappeared, he was followed by a group of orcs. These orcs were the representatives of the orcs in the land of demons, and they all had a lot of power. Miss Lung, we've already agreed to let you set up your territory here, so how can you leave? What are we going to do if you leave? The black bear was the one who spoke like a resentful husband. After saying these words, its huge bear face was filled with a trace of hidden bitterness. After spending time with Lung Ruoxu, they had already fallen in love with this human. On top of that, she was also an alchemist. Hence, they did not want her to leave even more. On the way here, they had secretly communicated with each other. Everyone had expressed that they would spare no effort to make Lung Ruoxu stay. This was also for their common interests. Therefore, this matter had to be done. I don't want to leave either, but I made an agreement with Godfather. If I make this place my territory, I have to take in a beast clan here for my own use. Otherwise, it's my loss. Lung Ruoxu said helplessly. Miss Ling, do you mean that as long as there's a beast clan that acknowledges you as their master, you can stay here? The black bear asked again. At this time, it seemed to have become the spokesperson of all the beasts. Yes, this is Godfather's request. Otherwise, even if you don't object, Godfather won't admit it. Lung Ruoxu said, feeling wronged. Her words made Master Ning feel as if he was sitting on pins and needles. Shui, didn't we agree on this before? Why am I the one who doesn't acknowledge my debt? The master of the Ning family said with a face full of hidden bitterness. He also felt wronged, okay? That's right, we had an agreement back then. Lung Ruoxu nodded her head in comfort. At this time, the black bear asked again, Miss Ling, do you have any requirements for ORCC's race? There's no requirement for this. Lung Ruoxu looked at her godfather and chuckled. Then it's easy. At most, we'll arrange for a beast clan to recognize you as their master. When the black bear heard Lung Ruoxu's words, he immediately beamed with joy. This isn't very good, is it? I don't want to force you. Lung Ruoxu pretended to hesitate, but she could not help but laugh in her heart. This time, Godfather had no other way. In fact, after hearing the fat black bear's words, the master of the Ning family was indeed a little dumbfounded. How is this possible? How could such a thing happen? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that such a situation really existed. This was truly too strange. He was even more depressed. I won't force you. We've already discussed it. Furthermore, it's absolutely voluntary. The black bear promised. In reality, when they were discussing which beast clan to acknowledge as their master, they almost started fighting. It wasn't because they didn't want to acknowledge Lung Ruoxu as their master, but because the number of beast clans who wanted to acknowledge her as their master was simply too many. If it wasn't because they felt that Lung Ruoxu might not be able to take on so many of them, they wouldn't have fought so hard over a single slot and almost started fighting. Done discussing? Then which of your beast tribes will recognize me as their master? Lung Ruoxu asked curiously. It's the Silver Rat clan, the black bear said with some embarrassment. Among all the beast clans in the land of demons, the Silver Rat clan was the weakest, but at the same time, they were also the clan with the largest number of people. Moreover, although their strength was low, their ability to gather information was first class. As for why the Silver Rat clan had fought for this quota, It was not necessary to explain to outsiders. In short, it was difficult to explain in a few words. The black bear's answer surprised Lung Ruoxue. She had never thought that she would have a rat as her beast. However, it was fortunate that this silver rat clan was different from the rats that caused harm everywhere in her previous life. In reality, the silver rats in the divine world were extremely beautiful. They had a body full of silvery white fur and shone with an enchanting radiance. Furthermore, they were only the size of an infant's fist and looked extremely small and cute. The only flaw was that their strength was too low, even if they were the king of silver rats. The highest of them only had the strength of a fifth-ranked sacred beast. As for the ordinary silver rats, most of them were not even divine beasts. It was not that they could not continue to advance, but it was extremely difficult for silver rats to cultivate, so advancing to the next rank had naturally become an extravagant hope. Master! After Lung Ruoxue listened to the black bear's words, she didn't say anything for a long time. The Silver Rat King thought that Lung Ruoxue was not satisfied with its strength, so it let out a soft cry of grievance and timidness. A layer of mist appeared in its pair of black pearl-like eyes, and it peeked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. Yes, let's do it. Lung Ruoxue came back to her senses and said helplessly as she looked at the Silver Rat King's pitiful little face. Yes, Master. When the Silver Rat King heard this, it happily jumped onto Lung Ruoxue's shoulder. Following that, the contract's rules appeared and enveloped the man and the rat within it. After the rules disappeared, the Silver Rat King became Lung Ruoxue's beast. As the king of a clan, it had a contract with its own clan. Thus, the entire Silver Rat clan naturally became Lung Ruoxue's. Chapter 1829, Gathered at Imperial City, 1. After the master recognition ceremony ended, all the beasts looked at the Silver Rat King with envy. The Silver Rat King shyly jumped onto Lung Ruoxue's shoulder. When the master of the Ning family saw this scene, the depression in his heart could not be described with words. He couldn't understand why it was like this. He had thought that victory was in his grasp, but who knew that things would take a turn for the better? Now, even if he wanted to object to Shui setting up a territory here, he had no reasonable reason to do so. At the thought of this, the master of the Ning family looked at Lung Ruoxue with more resentment. Lung Ruoxue caught a glimpse of her godfather's gaze and felt helpless. She knew that her godfather was definitely unwilling, but it was a pity that things had already come to this. It was useless no matter how unwilling he was. She laughed in her heart. Godfather, I've already fulfilled your request. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she reminded him. Yes. Yes, Master Ning responded unhappily, and then turned his head angrily, not looking at the slightly smug little girl. It was really infuriating. He thought to himself indignantly, if other people wanted to take in a beastie, they would have to spend a lot of effort. But this girl wanted to take in a beastie, and a beastie just had to come to her door on its own. This is really infuriating. He was a little envious and jealous. Godfather, this time you won't object to me setting up the territory here, right? Lung Ruoxue asked despite knowing the answer. You bad girl, what's the point of me objecting? The master of the Ning family glared at him and roared. Of course it's useless because I've already done what you asked. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Then why are you still asking me? The master of the Ning family was furious and shouted at the top of his voice. I just wanted to remind you, in case you renege on your debt. Lung Ruoxue said, feeling a little wronged. However, she was secretly laughing in her heart. Don't worry. I won't renege on my debt. Master Ning's face was livid. After he finished speaking, he flicked his sleeves and left. Godfather. Lung Ruoxue looked at her godfather's back and called out softly. However, Master Ning was so angry that he didn't even look back and left the living room. AI. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue sighed helplessly. Godfather was like a child at times, he needed to be coaxed. Following that, Lung Ruoxue turned her gaze towards the spiritual beasts in the house. After expressing her gratitude for their arrival and cooperation, Lung Ruoxue let Feng descend them back. Since the Silver Rat King had become her spiritual beast, it naturally stayed behind. As she looked at the beautiful and petite Silver Rat King, Lung Ruox's gaze became gentler. She asked curiously, "Silver Rat King, how many members does your Silver Rat clan have?" "Master, our Silver Rat clan prospers very quickly, and there are at least tens of thousands of clansmen. However, it's a bit difficult for us to cultivate, so the strength of our clansmen isn't very high." The Silver Rat King spoke the truth. As it spoke, it even lowered its little head, as if it was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would despise its people. "Oh, do you have any skills?" Lung Ruoxue asked again. "There is. We Silver Rats have many eyes and ears, so it's hard to hide anything that happens in the land of evil demons from us." Speaking of the Silver Rat clan's special skill, the Silver Rat King raised its head and puffed out its chest as it looked at Lung Ruoxue with pride on its little face. When Lung Ruoxue heard the Silver Rat King's words, she was a little surprised. She didn't expect the Silver Rat clan to have the potential to be spies. However, she was quite interested in this ability. "Silver Rat King, since your people have such abilities, then let them be in charge of the intelligence-gathering work in the evil demon land. If any strangers come to the land of demons, tell them to keep a close eye on them and report to me if anything happens." Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and ordered, "Yes, sir." The Silver Rat King raised one of its small claws, half raising it above its head, as if it had accepted an extremely glorious mission, and said in an unusually serious manner, "Master, I have a situation report right now. I wonder if you want to hear it?" Then, the Silver Rat King asked in a low voice with a mysterious expression, "What's the situation?" Lung Ruoxue was very surprised. She had just finished speaking and this little fellow already had something to report? Wasn't this speed a little too fast? "It's about the situation of the beasts in the land of the demons." The Silver Rat King said truthfully. "What?" Lung Ruox's beautiful face was filled with question marks. "Master, it's like this. We Silver Rats have lived in the land of evil demons for many years, so we're very familiar with the beasts here. We also know some of their gossip, which is also a secret that many beasts don't want people to know. However, you're my master, so I don't think I should hide anything from you." The Silver Rat King explained. "Ah." The Silver Rat King's words made Lung Ruox's forehead fill with black lines. So this little fellow wanted to tell her the gossip about the beasts in the land of demons. She had thought that he had some important news. "Master, aren't you interested in these things?" The Silver Rat King did not sense Lung Ruox's excitement, so it asked in a very small manner, "Little Silver Mouse, tell me first. If I know this, what use would it be to me?" Lung Ruoxue gently stroked the Silver Rat King's little head and asked in a speechless manner, "Master, it's very useful." The Silver Rat King nodded with great effort. "What's the use of them?" Lung Ruox's curiosity was piqued. "Master, if the beasts in the land of demons make you angry, or if they don't listen, you can use this to threaten them. It's very effective. I can become Master's beastie, but no beastie will fight with me for my master because I know their gossip. They are afraid that I will tell others about their embarrassing things, so they don't dare to fight with me for my master." The Silver Rat King said with pride. "Ah." The Silver Rat King's words made Lung Ruoxue speechless once again. She never thought that the inside story of the Silver Rat clan acknowledging a master was actually because they were afraid that her scandal would be exposed. However, this Silver Rat King was quite smart and knew how to make use of its own advantages. Otherwise, it wouldn't have become her beastie. "Master, our Silver Rat clan is very weak, and there are too many magical beasts who want to recognize a master as their master. Thus, I had no choice but to use this plan." The Silver Rat King was afraid that its master would misunderstand it as a despicable little mouse, so it quickly explained, "It's okay. As the saying goes, all is fair in war. You're very smart to think of using your own advantages to achieve your goal." Lung Ruoxue praised. "Master, you don't blame me?" The Silver Rat King asked with uncertainty. "I don't blame you. You're already my beastie, why would I blame you?" Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. She then urged, "Little silver mouse, from now on, the safety of our territory will be in the hands of your people." "No problem. Master has handed the safety of the territory to us. You can rest assured," the Silver Rat King promised. "Yes, let's go. It'll bring you to meet our own people," said Lung Ruoxue. With that, she left the hall with the Silver Rat King. Chapter 1830, Gathered at Imperial City, 2. After introducing Feng De and the others to the Silver Rat King once again, Lung Ruoxue brought the Silver Rat King into the bracelet. She wanted to introduce Qingju to it, but the moment the Silver Rat King entered the bracelet, it was completely dumbfounded. The Silver Rat King's eyes were wide open as it looked at the scene in front of it in disbelief. It even rubbed its eyes with its small claws to confirm that it was not seeing things. Where was this? The spiritual qi here was so dense that it felt so comfortable that it wanted to roll on the ground. The next second, the Silver Rat King saw a white and chubby little baby appear in front of it, looking down at it. Hello. The Silver Rat King stammered as it recovered from its shock. Its beastly instincts allowed it to clearly understand how powerful this little baby was. At the very least, this little baby wasn't someone it could afford to offend. It had to be said that Beastie's senses were very sharp. As the weapon spirit of the universal bracelet, other than Lung Ruoxue, all the humans and beasts that entered the bracelet would be restricted by him, the head butler. This was the right of the weapon spirit. He was the owner of the bracelet, and his owner was Lung Ruoxue. Little rat, Qingju, the chief butler of this place. If you need anything in the future, just come and find me. As for our master, who is my sister, it's best not to bother her unless it's something important. Her fiancé is very fierce. If you pester my sister and he finds out, you'll have to bear the consequences. Qingju reminded her with an evil smile. When Lung Ruoxue heard Qingju's words, the corners of her mouth twitched. She did not know why Qingju was trying to ruin the reputation of a demon. "Oh, I got it." After the Silver Rat King heard Qingju's words, it looked at him gratefully and couldn't help but sigh in its heart. This is a good man. Then, Qingju took the initiative to show the obedient Silver Rat King around the space. He also told it in detail where it could go and where it could not go. After walking around, the Silver Rat King had a general understanding of this place. The more it understood, the more it felt fortunate. It was fortunate that it had snatched this spot to recognize its master. Otherwise, how could it have entered such a beautiful place? It was very satisfied with this place. Furthermore, this place was very beneficial for its cultivation. Thinking of this, the Silver Rat King could not help but grin foolishly. Qingju looked at the Silver Rat King's silly appearance, not surprised at all. With a thought, he left it in the garden and went back to his work. At the same time, the depressed master of the Ning family ran to Uncle Long's room and complained to him. Uncle Long frowned as he listened to Master Ning's endless complaints, but as he listened, he actually felt like sleeping. Seeing his eyelids drooped down, Master Ning roared in his ear angrily, "Old whale! You're drooling!" Where was it? "Ning family boy, you dare to lie to me?" Uncle Long, who was half awake, wiped the corner of his mouth subconsciously when he heard Master Ning's words, only to find that he had been fooled, which made him angry. Damn it! It was clearly the Ning family's boy who pulled him and complained nonstop. It wasn't his fault that he was tired from listening, so why did he lie to him? "You fell asleep." Master Ning's eyes were wide open, and his anger was surging. "You've said the same thing several times. It would be strange if I didn't fall asleep." Uncle Long said helplessly. "I just wanted to find someone to chat with." "I'm panicking." The master of the Ning family said with an aggrieved face after hearing Uncle Long's words. "What's the big deal?" Really, Uncle Long was speechless. Was such a trivial matter worth him acting like this? I didn't expect things to take a turn. I was going to win. The master of the Ning family said unwillingly. "Ning family boy, if I say that you can't win at all, would you believe me?" After staring at the master of the Ning family for a long time, Uncle Long sighed and said with a little sympathy, "Of course I don't believe it. The master of the Ning family said, unconvinced. AI. Concern is a mess. In fact, the little girl is not as weak as you think. Don't forget, she was the one who saved you from the secret realm. If she hadn't gone, you would probably still be trapped in there. Since she has that ability, why are you still worrying for nothing? Even her own grandfather and brother aren't as naggy as you. Uncle Long couldn't take it anymore. What do you know? How do you know that they're not like this in private? The master of the Ning family couldn't help but shout again. I saw it with my own eyes. They're not like you. In fact, they trust the little girl a lot. You're always worried about this. What's there to worry about? If you ask me, you should just find a rope and tie this little girl to your side. Uncle Long suggested. You're trying to anger me to death, aren't you? Uncle Long's words made Master Ning even angrier. He wanted to tie Shuer to his side, but would that little girl do it? Good advice is unpleasant to the ear. Whether you listen to me or not, I have to remind you that it's time to send someone to the Divine Master's estate to file the case for the little girl's territory. Otherwise, the little girl and the others won't be able to participate in the elite competition. Uncle Long reminded him. He was afraid that the Ning family's kid would get angry and forget about the important matter. After all, the elite gathering was going to start in half a month. I know. I've already sent people over. The master of the Ning family said gloomily. Although he felt aggrieved, he would not go back on his promise to Shuer. So, after the matter of the territory was settled, he had already sent people to the Divine Master's estate to file the case for Shuer's territory. Since you've already sent people, why are you still so depressed? Uncle Long didn't understand him. This old man was just looking for trouble. Can't I find someone to vent my anger on? Master Ning's eyes widened and he said fiercely. All right, how can it not work? But my ears are getting calluses from listening to it. Why don't you go and complain to someone else? Uncle Long suggested. No, I can't find anyone else other than you. The master of the Ning family said shamelessly. So you're still clinging to me? Uncle Long was a little speechless. The boy from the Ning family had lived for a long time, but he was still like a child when he was willful. To be honest, even the little girl was more sensible than him. That's right. They'll be depending on you. The master of the Ning family smiled a little wretchedly. In fact, he mainly thought that Uncle Long was older than him, so it wouldn't be too embarrassing to complain to him. If he really listened to Uncle Long and complained to others, how could he face others in the future? You brat, you've got guts. Let's go, I'll have a one-on-one fight with you. Uncle Long was furious, and the consequences were severe. Then, Uncle Long grabbed the collar of the master of the Ning family and dragged him out of his house. As for the location of their one-on-one fight, no one knew. However, after the fight, the obvious blue and purple scar on Master Ning's face had left a deep impression on everyone because the scar on Master Ning's face had been there for a long time. Chapter 1831, Gathered at Imperial City, 3. Although many people were puzzled as to why the master of the Ning family didn't give them healing pills, no one was too embarrassed to ask because of his status. In the end, it was the Silver Rat King who cleared their doubts, because Uncle Long had said that he would let the master of the Ning family remember this profound lesson, so he was not allowed to eat healing pills and had to let the wound on his face heal by itself. If the master of the Ning family dared to disobey his orders, he would bear the consequences. As for what he meant by conceited, everyone guessed that he meant that he would be beaten up even more severely. After learning about this, everyone felt 120,000 points of sympathy for the Ning family's master, and even their attitude towards him was much better than before. This change made the Ning family's master depressed for a while. As for Uncle Long, after beating up the master of the Ning family, he felt that the old man had become more honest, so he didn't bother him anymore. Therefore he was happy every day. A week later, the person the master of the Ning family had sent to the Divine Master's residence to put Leng Ruoxia's territory on record had returned. After passing the proof of ownership to Leng Ruoxia started to build a place for them to stay. However, they were about to head to the elite gathering, so they only selected a location and built the rough framework of the house. Lung Ruox's territory was the mountain that she had chosen previously. That mountain was the tallest one in the land of evil demons. It covered a large area, and there were only 2 very small beast clans living on that mountain. They had also become Lung Ruox's neighbors. The main body of the house built this time was still designed according to the design of their home in the water margin continent. This was mainly to satisfy his grandfather's homesickness. In addition, 2 courtyards were built next to the main residence, one on the left and one on the right to guard the main residence. This was also the request of the Ning family's master, because he would come to live here from time to time, and the courtyards were prepared for his subordinates and visiting guests to live in. After the frame of the house was completed, the beasts in the land of demons took the initiative to take on the remaining construction work. Although they were not very particular about their own residence, they attached great importance to where Lung Ruoxue would be staying in the future. After Lung Ruoxue handed them the drawing of the house, she left the land of demons with Master Ning and the rest. It was less than a week before the elite competition. Lung Ruoxue and the rest traveled day and night and finally arrived at U City the day before the competition. The moment they entered the Imperial City, Lung Ruox's first thought was that there were too many people. It was not an exaggeration to describe the streets as packed with people. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others were not in disguise. Hence, their group attracted countless gazes. However, most of them were stunned and jealous. There were also many people who revealed friendly smiles towards them. Secondly, the Imperial City was very large and prosperous. There were many shops on the streets, and each shop was luxuriously decorated. The major guilds in the Imperial City were also very rich and magnificent from the outside. In short, everything in the Imperial City matched the supreme status of the Divine Master's estate. Not long after they entered the Imperial City, the elder of the Ning family, who had come here first to take care of everything, appeared in front of them with a smile. Clan head, Senior Long, and Miss Lung, I've been waiting for you for a long time. The one who spoke was a short and chubby middle-aged man. He was also an elder in charge of foreign affairs in the Ning family. Among the elders of the Ning family, his status was very ordinary. However, because he was smooth enough, he was in charge of foreign affairs in the Ning family. Yes. The master of the Ning family nodded slightly, then ordered, "Take us to the courtyard." Yes. The foreign affairs elder quickly responded. Then he led the way. Generally speaking, when all the great clans of the divine realm came to participate in the elite competition, they should stay in the inn arranged by the divine lord's estate. However, as the head of the 8 great divine realms, the Ning clan had its own courtyard in the Imperial City. Thus, a super clan like them naturally did not need to squeeze into an overcrowded inn like the other clans. Those who possessed such a privilege were all influential forces in the divine realm. When they arrived at the Ning family's courtyard, the Ning family's foreign affairs elder first arranged rooms for Lung Ruoxue and the rest. Then, he respectfully waited in the living room for Lung Ruox's instructions. Actually, with his status, there was no need for him to bow and bend his knees. However, he was very clear about Lung Ruox's position in the family head's heart. Hence, he subconsciously lowered his attitude. After all, in his opinion, pleasing Lung Ruoxue was equivalent to pleasing the family head. No matter how he looked at it, he would not be at a disadvantage. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue could only tell him clearly that she had nothing for him to do. When the foreign affairs elder saw this, he turned around and left in embarrassment. After the foreign affairs elder left, Lung Ruoxue heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, she didn't like it when people tried to please her deliberately. Their motives were too strong. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue seemed to have heaved a sigh of relief, the demon couldn't help but chuckled and teased, "Ha! Swear, if that foreign affairs elder knew that you didn't like this, I wonder if he would be disappointed." He should be. Lung Ruoxue felt helpless. Then let him be disappointed. The demon laughed evilly. "Little girl, the way you do things is really different from the rest. If it was someone else who was respected like this, I would be happy to do so, but you avoided him like a snake." At this time, Uncle Long, who had nothing to do, also started to tease him. There was a gentle smile on his serious face. Those who are unaccountably solicitous are either evil or thieving. Lung Ruoxue said with a little fear. She didn't want to be schemed against, even though that foreign affairs elder didn't have any evil intentions towards her. Who's the thief or villain here? Suddenly, a familiar voice rang in Lung Ruoxue and the rest's ears. Everyone raised their heads and saw the first elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters walking in from outside. Great Elder, you've come? The moment Lung Ruoxue saw First Elder, her beautiful face broke into a smile. Little girl, I haven't seen you for so long, and you didn't miss me? You're really too heartless. The First Elder continued, not giving Lung Ruoxue a chance to speak. As he spoke, his face was filled with intense resentment. Lung Ruoxue was completely speechless after hearing First Elder's words. It hadn't been that long since they last met, all right? Moreover, the Great Elder didn't give her a chance to speak and just accused her of not missing him. She felt so wronged. Little girl, you have to compensate me well. The First Elder ignored the depressed look on Lung Ruoxue's face and continued. How do you want me to compensate you, Great Elder? Lung Ruoxue smiled helplessly as she asked. At this moment, even if she was slow, she could tell that the Great Elder was deliberately finding fault with her. She just didn't know what he wanted. Make me a good meal. I haven't eaten in a long time, sigh. After eating the food you guys made, I can't even eat the food that others made. The Great Elder's words were very pitiful, and his face even showed a masochistic expression. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Just for a meal, she said that she had no conscience and didn't miss him? Even though she was helpless, Lung Ruoxue still ordered grape and lotus seed to get some food for the Great Elder so that he would not complain about her again. When the Great Elder had his fill of delicious food, his face bloomed with a smile. You old glutton, I was wondering why you didn't want to wait for me. So you're here to monopolize the food. Just as the First Elder was gobbling down his food, a familiar voice rang out in everyone's ears. Everyone raised their heads again and saw that it was the Chung clan's clan head. However, the head of the Chung clan didn't even exchange pleasantries with them. Instead, he pounced straight to the table and snatched the food from the First Elder. Instantly, everyone could only see two figures flashing here and there, and the food on the table was quickly reduced at a speed that was imperceptible to the naked eye. After a while, the two of them split the food on the table. When the master of the Ning family arrived at the living room of Lung Ruoxue's residence, he only saw a table full of plates and bowls, as well as the alluring aroma of dishes that wafted through the air. There were also two old men who showed no respect to their elders, leaning back on their chairs and burping contentedly. Instantly, his heart burned with anger, and he immediately dragged the Great Elder and the master of the Chung family out of the living room. When they reappeared, the Great Elder and the master of the Chung family were also injured to varying degrees. The Great Elder and the master of the Chung family lowered their heads in embarrassment in front of the crowd, while the master of the Ning family had a trace of pride on his face. His previous gloominess had been swept away, and at this moment he was in a very good mood. When they saw the First Elder and the Chung family's master, Lung Ruoxue, and the rest understood that their godfather was taking revenge. After all, he had been beaten up by Uncle Long before. Uncle Long didn't seem to want to see the master of the Ning family so proud. He said with a half-smile, Ning family's boy, you've grown up. Brother Long, are you used to living here? Is there anything that the attendant did not serve you well? Hearing Uncle Long's unkind words, the master of the Ning family immediately became a lackey and said with a fawning face, Ning family's boy, are you confused? We've only just arrived here and haven't even started living here yet. How do I know if he'll get used to it? Uncle Long said, trying hard not to laugh. Brother Long, I think you should try staying here first. If you're not used to it or if there's anything you're not comfortable with, let me know immediately. I'll arrange another place for you. The master of the Ning family quickly explained. He couldn't afford to offend this old man. Well, then he'll try to live here first. Uncle Long said indifferently. Hearing Uncle Long's words, the master of the Ning family was relieved for the time being. However, It was rare for the first elder and the master of the Chung family to see such a fawning side of him, so they all widened their eyes in disbelief as if they had seen an alien. "Are you old man Ning?" After a long while, first elder couldn't help but ask, his handsome face full of surprise. Chapter 1832, Start of the Competition, 1. Nonsense. If not, then you are? The master of the Ning family said unhappily. He was really depressed in his heart. If it wasn't for Uncle Long's valiance, he wouldn't be in this state. However, these old fellows actually wanted to see him make a fool of himself. This was really preposterous. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and his gaze toward the Grand Elder and the Chung clan's patriarch became more and more unkind. He couldn't do anything to the old whale, but he could deal with these two. The master of the Ning family thought to himself. However, his obviously dangerous gaze made the first elder and the master of the Chung family instantly raise their vigilance. The two of them quietly and slowly moved to Lung Ruox's side. As he moved, the great elder asked, "Why is old man Ning so angry? I'm not even angry at you for beating me up like this." After moving to Lung Ruox's side, first elder whispered, "Little girl, your godfather is a little abnormal. You have to protect me." When the patriarch of the Chung clan heard the grand elder's words, he hurriedly nodded and said, "Little girl, you can't just leave me in the lurch." Lung Ruoxue was speechless after hearing their conversation. Aren't these two people a little too exaggerated? His godfather's temper had not been good recently, but it was not like what they said. And she realized that she had been speechless more often recently. The whispers between the great elder and the master of the Chung family naturally couldn't escape the ears of the master of the Ning family. After hearing them say this, his eyes widened even more, and the cold air around him began to leak out. On his stern face, the words, "Strangers stay away," were clearly written. Seeing him like this, the demon couldn't help but chuckle. Hee hee. Hearing this laughter, Master Ning became even angrier. "You brat, what are you laughing at? Master Ning is so overbearing. You don't even allow others to laugh?" The demon raised his eyebrows and teased. "That's right. Don't laugh." The master of the Ning family roared in anger. "Young man," Uncle Long said with a faint smile, "you're so mighty." "Uncle Long, I was just joking with them." Uncle Long's words startled the master of the Ning family. How could he have forgotten about this old whale? A joke? Is this funny? Uncle Long asked on purpose. It's all right." The master of the Ning family sneered, a little at a loss. He was a powerful figure in the immortal realm, but he was really helpless in front of Uncle Long, who was even older than him. "Ning family's kid, tomorrow is the elite gathering. Now is not the time to joke." Uncle Long said disapprovingly. Then he said to Master Ning, "Shouldn't you tell the little girl the rules of the elite gathering? I'm here to talk to little girl Schwer about this." The master of the Ning family quickly said, wiping the cold sweat on his forehead without a sound. "Wu, with Uncle Long here, he was under a lot of pressure." Then he turned to Lung Ruoxue with a bitter expression and said, "Little girl, tomorrow is the official start of the elite competition. There are a few things you must pay attention to." Master Ning's face was serious when he said this. Lung Ruoxue and the others looked at him attentively and listened attentively. First of all, don't underestimate the enemy. Secondly, don't be soft-hearted, and thirdly, adapt to the situation. As long as you remember these 3 points, you will definitely be successful in the elite gathering. The master of the Ning family said worriedly, "Godfather, why don't you be soft-hearted? Isn't the elite competition supposed to stop there?" Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion after hearing Master Ning's 3 points. "Little girl, you've asked the right question. The elite competition doesn't stop when you've pointed it out, but it's possible to kill you. Therefore, you must be extra careful during the competition. Moreover, you must not be soft-hearted when dealing with the enemy, because this may be a trap for the enemy. Therefore, you can do whatever you want in the elite competition and show yourself well. After all, this is the best opportunity for you to make a name for yourself." The master of the Ning family warned. "Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. After hearing her godfather's words, she was looking forward to the elite gathering. She just didn't know if this elite gathering would live up to its name. Little girl, the elite competition can be very bloody sometimes, so you must not take it lightly. Uncle Long also warned. Uncle Long, don't worry. Well, be careful. Lung Ruoxue promised. Oh right, Shuo, which 5 people from your God-tier master group should participate in the competition tomorrow? The master of the Ning family asked. Feng De Lin Yuan, and I will definitely go. The other 2 spots have not been decided yet. Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Miss, let me go. Lu Tao took the initiative to ask. Alright then, you and Sueju. You two can take care of each other. Lung Ruoxue agreed. As for the demon, he would join the God King group. Hence, they might not meet him. Thank you, miss. Hearing this, Leto and Sueju were very happy. Grape and Lotus were also happy for them. After all, the elite gathering was very rare, and they also had the opportunity to participate in it because their cultivation levels were different. However, they would not be in the same group, so it was still unknown whether they would meet each other. Don't be too happy yet. Godfather and Uncle Long have said that the elite gathering is very dangerous. So, you must be extra careful, especially Sueju. I'm most worried about you. Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. The reason why she allowed Sueju to participate was because she was afraid that Sueju would feel bad if she saw that the other 3 had the chance to participate as well. The difference would be too great. After all, the 4 of them had always been together. Miss, I will be careful. Quiza's cheeks were slightly red as she said in embarrassment. Miss, I will also keep an eye on her. Seeing this, Lu Tao quickly promised. You guys might not end up together, so how are you going to watch? The master of the Ning family couldn't help but pour cold water on them when he saw their sisterly love. The competition of the elite competition is held in a special space. Moreover, it's not a one-on-one battle. It could be 1-on-2 or even more. The master of the Ning family continued. Godfather, is there anything special about this special space? When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she couldn't help but ask curiously. Little girl, this special space was personally created by Master Yu for the competition of the elite competition. In there, the participants from each clan will be randomly sent to the battlefield. If you are lucky, the strength of the participants in the battlefield will be weaker, and if you are unlucky, you will be in danger of losing your life. The master of the Ning family explained patiently. Then on the battlefield, will it be a chaotic battle? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. Not really. Every battlefield is very large, so you might not be so unlucky as to encounter a group of enemies. However, anything can happen on the battlefield. There are also temporary alliances to deal with others. That's why I told you to adapt to the situation. In short, whether you can survive and achieve good results in there is all up to you. As Master Ning spoke, he started to worry again, and the way he looked at Lung Ruoxue also became extremely resentful. Chapter 1833, Start of the Competition. 2. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, Godfather is worried again. However, she couldn't let her godfather's heart turn cold because of his good intentions. So, she smiled and said, Godfather, you should believe in our strength. By the way, how's the strength of the Ning clan's contestant? She changed the topic. Although he's not the Ning family's top elite, his strength is still passable. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Master Ning said, Then if we meet them on the battlefield of the elite gathering, should we help each other out? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. That would be for the best, of course. The master of the Ning family nodded. In fact, he had the same idea, but Shuer had said it first. Godfather, then please send someone to bring Feng De and the others to get to know your Ning family's representative, in case they don't know each other on the battlefield. Lung Ruoxue suggested. All right, he said. The master of the Ning family nodded, and then he shouted towards the outside of the hall, Men! Then 2 guards walked in. After the master of the Ning family gave some instructions, The guard left the living room with Feng De and the others. After they left, the Cheng clan's clan head looked at Leng Ruoxue with hidden bitterness. His face was filled with dissatisfaction as he said, "Little girl, you're so biased. Why don't you try to get closer to our Cheng family? Our Cheng clan can also form an alliance with you on the battlefield." Forget about the Cheng family," Leng Ruoxue said with a slight headache. After the incident at the Mystic Realm, it was hard for her to have a good impression of the Cheng family. Naturally, she would not want to mix with them again. "Little girl, how can you be so biased?" Leng Ruoxue's words made the head of the Cheng family feel embarrassed as he complained. "So what if I'm biased? I'm her godfather, so shouldn't she be biased towards our Ning family?" Not used to seeing the Cheng family's master acting pitiful, the Ning family's master was very protective. "But I'm not an outsider," the head of the Cheng clan said shamelessly. "They'll say something fair. Old Cheng, compared to us, you really are an outsider." At this time, the first elder also spoke. After hearing their conversation, the master of the Cheng clan was very depressed. However, he did not give up and continued to ask Leng Ruoxue, "Little girl, do you think I'm an outsider? Whatever they say doesn't count, I want to hear it from you." Leng Ruoxue was rendered speechless by Master Cheng's stubbornness. Her forehead was filled with black lines. What was she supposed to say? Although she really wanted to say yes, she was afraid of hurting the Cheng family's head's pride. After all, this old man was Godfather's friend. However, if she were to say such hurtful words, her heart would feel stifled and flustered. Thus, she was conflicted. This really put her in a dilemma. "Old man Cheng, don't make things difficult for Shuer, you're really an outsider." Seeing Leng Ruoxue's dilemma, Master Ning told her the truth. "You?" Master Ning's words made Master Cheng so angry that he couldn't say anything. He instantly forgot to question Leng Ruoxue and turned the spearhead to Master Ning. "You're good, old man Ning. You actually bully me like this. To think that we've known each other for so many years. Wu, how could you abandon me after having sex?" After a long while, the Cheng clan's patriarch finally managed to speak a complete sentence with tears in his eyes. However, his words shocked a large number of people. Leng Ruoxue and the others looked at Master Cheng in shock, then at Master Ning, whose face was ashen. No one was tactful enough to make fun of him, but their surprised gazes were enough to make Master Ning burn with anger. "Uncle Long, I'm going to beat him up." The master of the Ning family pointed at the master of the Cheng family and told Uncle Long, "This is a matter between the two of you, so there's no need to ask me." A few drops of cold sweat rolled down Uncle Long's forehead as he said in a speechless manner, "I know, I'm just saying hello to you." The master of the Ning family said with a face full of flattery. Then he glared at the master of the Cheng family. "Cheng clan's old thing, let's have a one-on-one fight." With that, Master Ning grabbed Master Cheng's collar and dragged him away again. Watching the two of them leave, everyone felt some sympathy for Master Cheng, because everyone could see that Master Ning was really angry this time. After all, no one wanted to be said to be abandoned after having sex. At the thought of this, everyone's gaze turned to the Great Elder again, causing the Great Elder's hair to stand on end. "Why are you all looking at me? I didn't say that old man Ning abandoned you after having sex." The first elder said with a face full of fear. "Great Elder, did the Ning family's brat really mess around and then abandon us?" Uncle Long asked with a smile. "I'm not sure, you have to ask the person involved." The Great Elder shrunk his neck, obviously not wanting to get involved in the matter between those two. "All right, I'll ask the Ning family's kid when he comes back later, and I'll say that you asked me to ask." Uncle Long said with a smirk. "Don't, Brother Long." Hearing Uncle Long's words, the Great Elder wanted to cry to death. Wasn't this bullying? If Uncle Long really asked Old Man Ning that, he would be the next one to be dragged out. "Then tell me," Uncle Long said with a smile. "But I really don't know." The Great Elder's expression was conflicted. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. The Divine Realm was truly dangerous. "Ha! Uncle Long, please don't make things difficult for the Great Elder." How could Godfather tell anyone about this? Leng Ruoxue was afraid that she would add fuel to the fire if the world wasn't in chaos. Even though she had managed to remove the Great Elder, she had planted the seed of suspicion on her own godfather. That's true. Uncle Long nodded his head and gave Leng Ruoxue face by not asking the Great Elder any further. When First Elder saw this, he cast a grateful glance at Leng Ruoxue. This little girl was so considerate of him. He was really touched. Then he found another reason and left the living room in a hurry. He couldn't stay in this place any longer. It was too dangerous and full of traps. After the Great Elder left, Uncle Long smiled happily. "Ha! This old man is quite scared," Uncle Long said in a good mood. Hearing Uncle Long's words, Leng Ruoxue felt extremely helpless. However, she also guessed that Uncle Long was too bored. Otherwise, why would he start teasing First Elder again? After a long time, the master of the Ning family came back in a good mood. This time, he was the only one who returned. "Godfather, didn't the Cheng family head come back with you?" Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh as she asked. "Why did he come back with me? That old thing is too embarrassed to see anyone, so he's hiding at home. I don't think he'll dare to come back in the near future," the master of the Ning family said confidently. "What did you do to him?" Leng Ruoxue asked, feeling a little speechless. "Nothing much, we just sparred and he lost," the master of the Ning family said concisely. Leng Ruoxue believed that her godfather's words were definitely not as simple as he made them out to be. Otherwise, why would the Cheng family head not dare to come to her house? However, would that old man really not dare to come again in the near future? She didn't believe that. Chapter 1834, Start of the Competition, 3. Girls, there's a competition tomorrow. You should rest early today. Afraid that Leng Ruoxue would question him further, Master Ning reminded her and left after saying that. The next day, it was the official opening day of the elite conference. Leng Ruoxue and the rest followed Master Ning's group to the Divine Master's residence. The competition was held in a spacious arena in the Divine Lord's estate. It was the largest arena in the Divine Lord's estate with the best facilities. It was rarely used unless there was an important competition. As they entered the arena, they saw that the facilities in the arena were just like the Divine Lord's residence's supreme position. It was extremely luxurious and beautiful. At this moment, the seats around the arena were already filled with many people. According to Leng Ruoxue's knowledge, most of the people seated there were representatives of the various clans in the Divine Realm. As for the participants from the various clans, they would only enter the arena a moment before the start of the competition to maintain a sense of mystery. They were the ones who didn't follow the rules. However, it was estimated that no one would think that they were contestants, because the state they showed was too casual. In addition, they followed the Ning family master, so it was not surprising that they were misunderstood as members of the Ning family. "Master Ning, long time no see. I didn't expect you to come so early." Before they could step into the Ning family's exclusive seats, a somewhat annoying voice rang in their ears. Everyone looked up and saw dozens of people surrounding the head of the Yao family. They were standing not far away from them, looking at them from a distance. "Aren't you early too?" the master of the Ning family said indifferently. Our Yao family has attached great importance to this elite gathering, so we naturally have to arrive early," the head of the Yao family said with a proud tone. "Then I wish you all good results," Master Ning said perfunctorily. After he finished speaking, he wanted to turn around, but he was blocked by Master Yao, who didn't know how to read the mood. "Don't be in such a hurry to leave. Let's have a good chat," the head of the Yao family said shamelessly. "What do we have to talk about?" The master of the Ning family raised his eyebrows and said in disbelief. "Of course, we have a common enemy." The head of the Yao family approached the head of the Ning family and whispered, "You found his whereabouts?" Upon hearing this, Master Ning suddenly had an idea. If it wasn't for this old thing wouldn't have come to him to show off. The him he was referring to was naturally Master Wen. "Yeah, I've received news that there's someone in Ice City who looks like him," the head of the Yao clan said. "What do you mean by looking like it?" You can't even be sure, and you're still showing off in front of me? Hearing this, the master of the Ning family was angry. Couldn't this old thing be more reliable? She actually dared to tell him things that she wasn't completely sure of. She was really tired of living. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Although I'm not very sure, it's most likely him. However, he's in disguise, so my men can't be sure. The head of the Yao clan said somewhat embarrassedly. Oh, then why are you telling me this? The master of the Ning family pretended to be confused. You old thing, are you playing dumb? I'm telling you this because I hope you can come with me to deal with him. The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth. Actually, he could have gone to find the person who was suspected to be the head of the Wen family himself. However, he was afraid that people would be dissatisfied if he monopolized the Wen family's divine realm in the future. Therefore, he wanted to pull the Ning family along. In this way, there would not be many people in the divine world who would want to make irresponsible remarks. Only the two of us? The master of the Ning family frowned. He understood what the old man of the Yao family meant. It was nothing more than his intention to divide the Wen family's territory after getting rid of the old god of plagues. However, he was not too interested in the Wen family's divine realm, so he did not want to get involved in this mess. More importantly, he did not agree with the old man of the Yao family's action of excluding the others. After all, they were once comrades in the same trench. In addition, there were also the Yin family and the Chung family, so he could not do that. Don't tell me you want to drag in the Yin and Qing clans? If the two of them are added, then the Wen's divine domain will be in our hands. You have to think carefully. The head of the Yao family made his words very clear. It's not just the Yin clan and the Chung clan, there are other people, including the beasts of the endless sea. Since the old god of plagues is our common enemy, I don't think we should exclude them. That's not right. The master of the Ning family said disapprovingly. Hearing this, the head of the Yao family was so angry that his face turned pale. He was a little reluctant to call the old man Ning. If he really listened to the old man Ning and called all the affected forces to deal with the old god of plagues together, what benefits would they have? If it was the Wen family of the past, they could still manage to do so. However, apart from the fact that the territory was not occupied by anyone, what else did the Wen family have? The head of the Yao family took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. After a long while, he said, "If we call them, I'll be good enough if we can get a piece of land as big as a fart. Is this what you want? The location isn't important. What's important is everyone's friendship. Why can't you understand?" The head of the Ning family said with a face of disappointment. To be honest, he was not very interested in the Wen family's divine realm. After all, it was quite far from the Ning family's divine realm and it was inconvenient to manage it. Therefore, he did not want to divide up the Wen family's territory, but he also did not want the Yao family to monopolize it. Therefore, he suggested for the Yao family to gather more forces to deal with the old god of plagues together. However, he knew that the Yao family's old man would not agree easily, but it was fine if he did not agree. In any case, she would not join him in the dirty work. You're really that generous? The head of the Yao family asked in disbelief. It's not that I'm being generous. The Wen family's divine realm doesn't belong to me. Whoever has the ability can take it. Furthermore, this is not a matter of the Yao family. If you're not afraid of incurring the wrath of the masses, you can take the Wen family's divine domain for yourself. I want fight with you. The master of the Ning family promised. When did you become so gentle? The head of the Yao family said, somewhat exasperated. This isn't gentleness. I have a sense of justice. Master Ning said with a smile. After he finished speaking, he led Leng Ruoxue and the others past Master Yao to their personal seats, leaving Master Yao and his clansmen standing stupidly in the passageway with a dark expression. Damn it! Was he being rejected? Looking at Master Ning's back, Master Yao felt indignant. How could he be willing to share the Wen family's divine realm with so many people like the old man Ning had said? Although the Wen family's power had been uprooted and was not as strong as before, a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the Wen family was gone, the Wen family's territory was still there. Moreover, That place was one of the best places in the divine realm and had been developed by the Wen family for many years. They did not need to spend much effort to restore it to its original state. Therefore, he was extremely unwilling to share it with so many forces. However, the old man of the Ning family had made it clear that he wanted to join forces with all the forces. This result made him, who had thought that victory was in his hands, extremely conflicted. In contrast to the Yao family's master's depressed mood, the Ning family's master was very calm as he went to his own exclusive seat. After he sat down, he started nagging at Leng Ruoxue and the others. "Little girl, you must be careful and bring more pills. There's no use for them. It was because I brought too few pills back then that I lost to another guy." Thinking of the past, the master of the Ning family couldn't help but sigh. What? Leng Ruoxue was astonished. Even Godfather had an opponent? AI. It was a long story. Let's not talk about it. The master of the Ning family obviously didn't want to talk about this matter. When Leng Ruoxue saw her godfather like this, the fire of gossip actually burned in her heart. However, no matter how she tried to beat around the bush, her godfather would not talk about this matter. Seeing this, Uncle Long laughed again. "Ha! Little girl, do you know what it means to give birth to a beauty? If I'm not mistaken, this should be a phrase that you humans often sigh with. This sentence is exactly what the Ning family's boy is thinking." Uncle Long is indeed knowledgeable. Leng Ruoxue was stunned when she heard Uncle Long's words. She didn't think that Uncle Long would even know about already born Yu and he born Liang. He even knew how to use them. This was really beyond her expectations. Of course, back in the day, I've been to quite a few planes, and you weren't even born at that time. Uncle Long said proudly. He was also starting to miss the glorious days of the past. Uncle Long's words caused Leng Ruoxue to feel so depressed that black lines appeared on her forehead. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Of course, she wasn't born yet. Adding up her past and current lives, she wasn't even 50 years old yet. A real man doesn't talk about his past achievements, so let's not talk about the past. Following that, Uncle Long consoled himself and even gave Leng Ruoxue a look. Leng Ruoxue understood and quickly changed the topic. "Godfather, we're going to the next game in a while." Leng Ruoxue tried to start a conversation. "Okay, be careful." The master of the Ning family nodded and said somewhat listlessly. At this moment, the Grand Elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters walked over and gave Leng Ruoxue and the others some instructions. Not long after, the competition officially began. Leng Ruoxue and the rest followed the arrangement of the competition staff and followed him to the center of the arena in an orderly manner. At this moment, a teleportation door had already appeared there. Following the order that had been arranged beforehand, everyone entered the door one after another. With a flash of white light, all the participants disappeared from the arena. Chapter 1835, Ji Yun, 1. After Leng Ruoxue and the others were teleported away from the arena, the master of the Ning family, who was sitting in his own exclusive seat, frowned. Uncle Long was surprised to see this. "What's wrong? Worried about the little girl? You should believe in her strength. She can't be unrivaled in the God-tier division." Uncle Long comforted her. He believed that the little girl could handle any emergency. He couldn't understand why the Ning family's kid was always worried about this and that. "I know, but I'm feeling a little uneasy," the master of the Ning family said. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that something bad was going to happen, and this feeling came very suddenly. "You're thinking too much. Just watch the game in peace." Uncle Long sighed and said helplessly. They could see everything that the participants were doing in the special space through the light curtain, so they would know very soon whether the little girl was doing well or not. Therefore, he was not worried at all. More importantly, the participants were not under their eyes. Even if they were worried, it would be of no use. In that case, why should they waste their energy? "I hope so," the master of the Ning family said weakly, and then turned his attention to the huge light screen in the arena. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others had already been teleported to the various battlefields. It was called a battlefield because the atmosphere there was very much like a battlefield. The whole special space gave people a gloomy feeling, and a trace of bloody smell floated in the sky. Even the air there was dark red, which made people feel very uncomfortable. The moment Lung Ruoxue entered this place, she was already very displeased with it. This place made her chest feel stuffy and made her feel very uncomfortable. More importantly, this place made her feel like she was going to have a big fight. Something was not right. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could not help but raise her guard. Standing on the empty battlefield, Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes to survey her surroundings. As far as she could see, the area was extremely spacious and there was not a single person. Not only that, there was not even a single targeted building in the surroundings. There was also a faint layer of mist floating in the air on the battlefield. Lung Ruoxue's heart was filled with suspicion. She didn't expect to be the only one here. Then, where were the others transported to? As she thought about this, Lung Ruoxue had already started to walk away. Lung Ruoxue followed her instincts and walked forward. She didn't know how long she had been walking, but she finally walked out of the place she had been in. After walking out of the thin mist, Lung Ruoxue once again sized up the environment in front of her. This place seemed to be better than the place she was at earlier. At least, she could see a sea of lush green here. The surrounding trees were very lush and she could even see a few small hills. However, the air here was still the same as before, gloomy and dark red. There were not many changes. Lung Ruoxue walked to the side of a hill and sat down. She then contacted Qingju. Qingju, are you restricted in this place? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. Yes, sister. I can't sense anything here. Qingju said guiltily. He was very depressed that he could not help his sister. It's okay. They'll sit here and rest for a while. They'll continue to find the way out later. Lung Ruoxue consoled before sitting down on the small hill to rest. While she was resting, Lung Ruoxue did not forget to observe her surroundings. However, the more she looked, the stranger this place became. What she was even more curious about was how big this place was. Why was it that other than herself, there was not a single living thing in sight? In this case, who would she call? Before they came in, the staff had told them that the competition would last for a month. Within a month, whoever won the most battles would be the final winner. The winner would only win if they received a token from their opponent. As for the token, it was naturally a jade token given to them by the staff before the competition. However, there was no one in front of her. Where could she find an opponent? At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue's heart was filled with endless gloominess. She casually toyed with the jade token hanging by her waist. She suddenly felt a faint trace of divine power on the jade token, which involuntarily attracted her attention. Could it be that someone had left a mark on the jade token? However, these jade tokens were distributed by the Divine Master's estate. Who would leave such a faint divine power on them? A trace of suspicion flashed across Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face. At the same time, she raised her guard even more. After resting for an unknown amount of time, Lung Ruoxue stood up and was about to leave. Suddenly, her sharp ears picked up a rustling sound from the thicket. After pondering for a moment, Lung Ruoxue walked towards the direction of the sound. As they neared the thicket, Lung Ruoxue stood outside and asked loudly, "Who's inside? Come out." However, there was no response from the bushes. She held the sword in her hand without making a sound. Lung Ruoxue used the tip of the sword to push aside the weeds that were half the height of a person outside the thicket. Then, she brandished the sword and stabbed into the thicket. "Arg! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Help me!" With a flash of cold light, a voice begging for mercy came from the forest. The voice was choked with sobs. "Who is it? Come out!" Lung Ruoxue shouted. Actually, she had not used her full strength in that attack. She had only wanted to test the thing that was hiding in the thicket. She did not expect that there would really be an unknown life form there. "I'm out, don't kill me!" Woo! As soon as he finished speaking, a young man came out of the bushes. The young man looked like he was in his early 20s and was quite handsome. However, his face was pale and his clear eyes showed a trace of fear. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, the young man was stunned for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "Don't kill me," the young man said again with a face full of fear. His clear watery eyes were glistening, making him look pitiful. This woman is so fierce. His father was right, women were all tigers. "Who are you? Why are you hiding behind the bushes?" Lung Ruoxue's face was stern as she spoke coldly. "My name is Ji Yun. I am a member of the Ji clan." The young man looked at Lung Ruoxue carefully and reported his family background. The Ji family, never heard of them. Lung Ruoxue replied indifferently. She did not care which family they were from. She couldn't let down her guard against anyone who appeared on this battlefield. Therefore, even though this man appeared weak, she didn't let down her guard. The Ji family is just a small family. It's normal that you haven't heard of them. Ji Yun said nonchalantly. He wasn't a top-grade crystal, so he naturally couldn't let everyone know about him and like him. He knew his own limits. "You still haven't told me what you're doing hiding behind the bushes." Lung Ruoxue continued with her previous question. "Dodge the opponent. The competition would last for a month. If I'm discovered too early, I'll be in a very miserable state. I might even be in danger of dying. Thus, I can't let anyone discover my existence. My parents also told me that as long as I find a good place to hide after entering the battlefield and no one can find me, then after the competition is over, I will naturally be able to return home safe and sound. If I'm lucky, I might even be able to get a ranking or something." Ji Yun said very honestly. Chapter 1836, Ji Yun, 2. Don't tell me you plan to hide here for a month? Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with black lines as she asked. There were all kinds of birds in a big forest. She had just entered this place for the first day and she had already met such a lazy guy. She really didn't know how his parents had educated their child. To tell their child's parents this, it could be considered a weirdo, right? Moreover, Qing Ju had also clearly told her that Ji Yun was speaking the truth. Qing Ju was worried about Ji Yun and had already read his mind. "I did have that idea, but it's a pity that you found out on the first day. Why is my luck so bad?" Ji Yun's face was bitter, as if he was about to cry. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, her forehead was already covered in dark clouds. This fellow was really... "Let's discuss this, okay? Let's not fight anymore. I admit defeat and I can give you the jade plate. Please spare my life. I'm not married yet. Sob, I have the elderly and the children at home, and they all need me to take care of them. They can't live without me." Seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't respond, Ji Yun continued to complain. His words almost drove Lung Ruoxue mad. This fellow really made her speechless. Lung Ruoxue was instantly rendered speechless and flabbergasted, not knowing what to say. Her beautiful eyes glared at Ji Yun for a long while before Lung Ruoxue blurted out, "Aren't you still single? Where did you get the idea of having a child?" "I still have a group of younger brothers and sisters who need me to take care of them. And my parents, great-grandfather, great-grandmother, great-grandfather," as Ji Yun spoke, he counted with his fingers. However, before he could finish his long-winded speech, he was interrupted by Lung Ruoxue, who could no longer bear it. "Stop. If you continue, I'll just kill you right now, and your family will have no one to rely on." Lung Ruoxue threatened helplessly. Even though she knew that this fellow's words had a lot of exaggerations, but seeing how he was so good at making things up, she wouldn't be calculative with him. Furthermore, winning against such a weirdo didn't give her any sense of accomplishment. Furthermore, they hadn't even started fighting, and this fellow had already admitted defeat. He even took the initiative to give her the jade token. Just thinking about it made her feel like laughing. "If I don't tell you, will you let me go?" Ji Yun said uncertainly. He could tell that this woman's temper wasn't very good, because she was extremely impatient. Her father was right again. The more beautiful a woman was, the worse her temper would be. "Did I say I wouldn't let you go?" Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked. I misunderstood. I thought you wanted to fight me." Ji Yun said, somewhat embarrassed. "Fight you? I'm sorry, you can't pique my interest in fighting." Lung Ruoxue said without giving him any face. There was even a hint of disdain in her words. Ooh, you've hurt my self-esteem. Ji Yun's face was filled with hidden bitterness as a layer of mist appeared in his clear eyes. You actually hurt your self-esteem? When Lung Ruoxue heard Ji Yun's words, a look of surprise appeared on her face. She didn't mishear, right? Yes. Ji Yun solemnly nodded his head. Then he looked at Lung Ruoxue with a hint of resentment. Where's your pride? Let me take a look? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. This can only be understood, not explained. Ji Yun lowered his head shyly, his cheeks blushed. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue really wanted to give him a vicious kick. However, bullying him felt like bullying a small animal. His pitiful look was too much like some kind of small animal. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue sighed heavily in her heart. Then she turned around and left. However, she had just taken a step when she felt her sleeve being tugged by something. Why are you pulling me? Do you want to challenge me? Lung Ruoxue turned around and raised her brows. She looked at Ji Yun with a half-smile. Of course not. When Ji Yun heard this, he was so frightened that he quickly let go of Lung Ruoxue's sleeve. You can't leave me behind. Ji Yun said pitifully, his eyes beginning to tear up. Why can't I just leave you behind? When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she laughed. However, the beautiful smile on her face caused Ji Yun's heart to palpitate with fear. Ji Yun unconsciously lowered his head, not daring to look at the bright smile on Lung Ruoxue's face. Women were all tigers, and beautiful women were the big tigers among tigers. This was his father's wise saying, and he had been influenced by it since he was young. Thus, Lung Ruoxue's beauty was not a lethal poison to him, and he believed in it without a doubt. Thus, when he first saw Lung Ruoxue, other than being stunned, his mind was filled with his father's warnings. Other than that, he had no other thoughts. You're the first person I've met here, so our friendship is naturally different. So, you can't leave me behind. After thinking for a moment, Ji Yun said in a low voice. You're wrong. In my eyes, you're just a passerby. So, I can totally abandon you. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Arg. How could you do this? Isn't it good for us to be together? It's better for the two of us to take care of each other, right? Ji Yun tried his best to put on a cute expression as he smiled. Then may I ask if you're taking care of me, or am taking care of you? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. Of course, we'll take care of each other. Besides, I can protect you too, right? Ji Yun said with a smile. You want to protect me? Don't tell me that your protection is for me to hide here with you? Lung Ruoxue took a look at Ji Yun's proud expression and guessed. How do you know? You're really amazing. There's nothing wrong with this place. At least it's safe. Ji Yun said heartlessly. Safe? How could I find out that it was safe? If I really wanted to kill you, would you still have your life? Lung Ruoxue looked at Ji Yun helplessly. But you didn't kill him, did you? I know you won't kill me. We're already friends, aren't we? Ji Yun said in a friendly manner. We can't be considered friends. I've said it before, you're just a passerby. Lung Ruoxue was about to go crazy. Don't be like this. Why do you have to keep people 1,000 miles away? Ji Yun grumbled. After he finished speaking, his mischievous hand tugged at Lung Ruoxue's sleeve. Lung Ruoxue looked at her own sleeve, then at GQ. She let out a heavy sigh and sat down under the tree. Seeing this, Ji Yun also sat down. Right, you haven't told me your name yet? After sitting down, Ji Yun didn't want the awkward silence, so he quickly asked. Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue said softly. She was really helpless against this fellow. Putting aside the fact that he was very friendly, his skin was extremely thick. It's a nice name. Ji Yun praised with a silly smile. Then he enthusiastically said, Ruoxue, why don't we stay here for a month? My parents told me that if we're safe and sound after a month, we'll be able to get a ranking if we're lucky. Chapter 1837. Ji Yun, 3. You've said it before. You also said that the idea of finding a place to hide was your parents' idea. Lung Ruoxue reminded. Yes, that's right. Let's hide here for a month. Ji Yun suggested. Ji Yun's words caused Lung Ruoxue to look at him seriously for a long while. Then she said, "You're so unmotivated. Is this a tradition of your family?" She was truly curious as to what kind of clan could produce such a weirdo. But then again, this idea seemed to be feasible, but the prerequisite was that it wouldn't be discovered. However, it was obvious that Ji Yun had not found the right hiding place. You can even tell? Ji Yun said with an embarrassed smile. Lung Ruoxue remained silent. She felt powerless in front of Ji Yun. Lung Ruoxue didn't speak for a long time while Ji Yun looked at her carefully. Neither of them spoke. At this time, Master Ning, who was watching their every move through the light screen, was full of question marks. What was Xue and that kid talking about? Why did the two of them sit down? Although they could see everything on the battlefield through the light screen, they could only see people and not hear what the people inside were saying. So, after seeing the two of them sit down, the master of the Ning family and the others couldn't help but guess. Clan head, what did young Miss Lung and that brat say? The foreign affairs elder asked in a low voice, his face full of curiosity. You're asking me, but who should I ask? I still want to know. The master of the Ning family glanced at the foreign affairs elder and said unhappily, You guys are really gossipy. What can be said inside? It's nothing more than a companion. Uncle Long looked at the two of them and said calmly, What Brother Long said makes sense. It's indeed possible. However, why does this kid look so silly? The master of the Ning family said with dissatisfaction, like a father whose daughter had been taken away. As long as he saw a man close to his daughter, he would find it unusually piercing. Are there any men who aren't stupid in your eyes? Uncle Long looked at the master of the Ning family and teased him. There are. That demonic man isn't stupid. The master of the Ning family said dejectedly. He couldn't do anything to that evildoer. To be exact, he didn't even care about him as his godfather. He didn't know why, but he was a little afraid of that evildoer. Haha. Hearing the master of the Ning family's depressed words, Uncle Long laughed out loud, which made the master of the Ning family even more sullen. At the same time, Ji Yun's family members were also paying attention to the screen. When they saw that Lung Ruoxue had discovered Ji Yun and had almost killed him, they broke out in a cold sweat. Then they saw the two of them sit down and talk to each other. Only then did they relax a little. However, they were still worried. However, Lung Ruoxue and Ji Yun, who were in the middle of the battle, were naturally unaware of the thoughts of those who were closely related to them. The two of them stared at each other for a long while before Ji Yun took out a plump whole chicken from his storage ring. He then lit a fire and roasted the chicken over the fire. Following that, he sprinkled various seasonings on the chicken. Not long after, the aroma of the roast chicken wafted through the air. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue sighed again. Can you hide like this? Lung Ruoxue didn't know what to say. However, this fellow was quite particular. He was clearly going to hide, but he still wanted to roast chicken? I can't hide. You're a girl, I can't possibly let you go hungry. Ji Yun said with an aggrieved expression. Ruoxue was finally paying attention to him. It really wasn't easy. It seemed like the charm of food was greater. He thought to himself gloomily. In reality, he was thinking too much. Lung Ruoxue only felt that his actions were a little illogical, and it wasn't because he was interested in the chicken. You are so considerate. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but roll her eyes. You've noticed. Ji Yun's dejected expression was replaced by a brilliant smile. This guy really liked to take advantage of others. After hearing Ji Yun's words, Lung Ruoxue couldn't be bothered with him anymore. However, Ji Yun didn't take it to heart. After he finished roasting the chicken, he took the initiative to pass it to Lung Ruoxue and said solicitously, Quickly eat. My cooking skills are not bad, it won't taste good when it's cold. I'm not hungry. Lung Ruoxue said as she looked at the sizzling chicken. She couldn't deny that Ji Yun's cooking skills were not bad because the chicken smelled very good. However, when she thought about Ji Yun's smug personality, she lost her appetite. How can I not be hungry? We've been here for a long time. Come, let's eat. You're welcome. I'm not going to charge you. Ji-yoon urged with a smile. From what you're saying, you're planning to collect money from someone else? After hearing Ji-yoon's words, Lung Ruoshue was even more speechless. That's a must. I'm not obligated to get food for free. However, I won't take money from friends I acknowledge. Ji-yoon promised. In other words, Lung Ruoshue was a friend that he had acknowledged. Do I need to thank you? Lung Ruoshue looked at Ji-yoon and said in a serious tone. No need to thank me. You just need to remember that we are partners. Ji-yoon laughed. He was slightly proud in his heart. A chicken had pulled the relationship between the two closer, he thought to himself happily. All right, since we're partners, then I won't be polite. Lung Ruoshue finally understood that she couldn't get through to this fellow. Hence, she didn't want to waste her breath on him. She snatched the roasted chicken away and took out the treasure from her bracelet. She then stuffed the roasted chicken into its little claws and instructed, "Eat it." I promise to complete the task. After Baby finished speaking, it opened its mouth and took a big bite of the roast chicken. In one bite, 1/3 of the roast chicken disappeared. Then, Baby finished off the fat roast chicken in 2 or 3 moves. Seeing this, Ji-yoon couldn't help but widen his eyes and stammered, I haven't eaten yet. In fact, the chicken was roasted for the two of them because he was sure that Lung Ruoshue would not be able to finish it. Who knew that such an accident would happen? The entire chicken had entered the stomach of a little fox. He could not help but recall what his mother had told him before. Foxes love to eat chicken the most. Ooh, he had miscalculated. This chicken isn't that good. Looking at the aggrieved Yoon, Baby wiped his mouth in a matter-of-fact manner and spoke with a slight dissatisfaction. If it's nothing, why did you eat it all? Ji-yoon suppressed his anger and growled. How can I disobey my lovely master's orders? Baby also looked at Ji-yoon with an aggrieved expression. In other words, if its master asked it to eat, would it dare to not eat? As a beastie, how can I not listen to my master's words? Baby added. All right. You're ruthless. Ji-yoon felt helpless. He could deeply feel that this little fox was much more difficult to deal with than him. Hee. Baby smiled smugly and threw himself into Lung Ruoxue's arms. He said coyly, My lovely master, is this that special space? The smell here is weird, I don't like it. Baby covered his little nose in disdain. Then I'll send you back. Lung Ruoxue stroked her baby's fur and smiled. I'll go back first. My master is summoning me for something. Baby nodded his little head. Following that, Lung Ruoxue placed the treasure back into the bracelet. After sending the treasure away, Lung Ruoxue felt a probing gaze on her. She couldn't help but raise her head and look at Ji-yoon. Why are you looking at me like that? It's nothing. I just think that you're getting along well with Beastie. Ji-yoon said with an envious expression. Of course, I treat my Beastie as family. Lung Ruoxue said with pride. No wonder. Ji-yoon nodded, a smile of understanding appearing on his face. Then he changed the topic and said, Ruoxue, since we have decided to hide here for a month, what do you think we should do? The two of them couldn't just stare at each other for a month, could they? Did I say I'm going to hide here? Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Where else would you hide? If you have a good place, then we can go together. Ji-yoon said with a face full of anticipation. This place was indeed not that great, and it was very easy to be discovered. Fortunately, the person who discovered him this time was Lung Ruoxue. Otherwise, if it had been an extremely vicious person, wouldn't his little life have been lost? I don't have a good place. I just want to find a place with people and fight with a few people I don't like. Do you want to come? Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Ruoxue, fighting is a barbarian's behavior. We're all well-mannered children, so we really shouldn't like to fight. Moreover, you're a girl, so you shouldn't fight. When Ji-yoon heard that Lung Ruoxue was going to fight, he quickly advised her. So you don't want to go with me? Then let's part ways here. We'll meet again. Lung Ruoxue said with her eyes half closed. After speaking, she stood up and prepared to leave. Seeing this, Ji-yoon hurriedly pulled her back and said with an aggrieved expression, "You want to get rid of me again? You're so mean. You were the one who said you wouldn't go with me." Lung Ruoshue replied in a slightly aggrieved tone, "All right." He was right, she did want to get rid of this big burden. Chapter 1838, A Feud 1. You don't have a good place to hide. Besides, it's not right to be violent to others. Tears welled up in Ji-yoon's eyes as he said in an extremely aggrieved voice, "This woman is so fierce." He was so scared. It's wrong to use violence on others, but what if others use violence on us? Lung Ruoshue asked, feeling a little speechless. That's still wrong. Ji-yoon lowered his head and whispered. He even peeked at Lung Ruoshue with pitiful eyes. "Do you think they'll let us go just because you said we're wrong? You're that innocent?" Lung Ruoshue rolled her eyes and asked helplessly. "We can talk about facts and reason with them." That's why you didn't attack me." At the mention of this, Ji-yoon's interest was piqued, and he spoke with a smug expression. "That's because I'm too lazy to make a move on you." Lung Ruoshue was a little angry. She finally realized that this fellow had the potential to make people angry. When she saw him, she wanted to beat him up even more. Could. You're just too lazy to make a move on me, but that should be fine, right? Ji-yoon coaxed him helplessly. When Lung Ruoshue heard his words, she didn't want to stay here for another second. Without thinking, she turned around and prepared to leave. However, Ji-yoon was like a piece of sticky candy, sticking to her side and following her step by step. Seeing this, Lung Ruoshue couldn't take it anymore. She roared, "How long do you want to follow me? Don't follow me. We're partners. If I don't follow you, who should I follow? Didn't we agree to look out for each other? How could you abandon me?" After saying this, Ji-yoon's eyes began to water up slowly, as if a heavy rain was about to fall at any moment. Seeing this, Lung Ruokshue's beautiful brows furrowed. This fellow really had the ability to drive people crazy. She took a few deep breaths and suppressed her anger. "You're the one who insisted on hiding here and not leaving with me. So, we've already parted ways. We'll meet again. Stop following me." With that, Lung Ruoshue quickly teleported away from the place. However, no matter where she went, there would always be a figure that followed her at the same speed. Instantly, in the vast space, only two rays of light as fast as meteors could be seen flashing by. After a long time, Lung Ruoshue stopped in her tracks and looked at Ji-yoon, who was panting slightly but still following closely behind her, with a gloomy expression. She shouted helplessly, "How long do you want to follow me?" They had already made a round, so how did this guy catch up to her? After going around in a circle, the two of them actually returned to their original spot. "We're partners." Lung Ruokshue's fierceness caused Ji-yoon to shrink back as he spoke in fear. "I'm going to find someone to fight, and you're not going." Lung Ruoshue glared at him with her beautiful eyes. "Fighting is not good." Seeing Lung Ruokshue's unfriendly expression, Ji-yoon's voice grew softer and softer. "I want to find someone to fight right now. What do you think I should do?" Lung Ruoshue said in an unpleasant tone. The air here was already very hot-tempered, and now that she had met this guy, the anger in her heart had only grown. If she didn't find a few unlucky guys to vent her anger, then the one who would be in trouble would be this Ji-yoon in front of her. However, she definitely couldn't beat Ji-yoon up. Otherwise, if he cried, he would go crazy. Violence is not good. Ji-yoon persevered in his attempt to persuade her. However, when he saw Lung Ruokshue's eyes filled with warning, he quickly changed his words. "However, it's still necessary to properly vent. Then I'm going to find someone to vent my anger on," Lung Ruoshue said with satisfaction. Although this Ji-yoon was a little abnormal, he was still quite tactful. Just based on this point, she wouldn't make things too difficult for him. After all, it wasn't easy to meet such a strange person here. After she finished speaking, Lung Ruoshue couldn't wait to slip away. "Wait!" Ji-yoon quickly called out to Lung Ruoshue. He gritted his teeth and said, I'll go with you." He made up his mind and went all out. "Are you sure?" Lung Ruoshue raised her brows and asked in disbelief. Yes. Ji-Yun nodded his head heavily and continued, I have to protect you. I don't need your protection. Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes as she replied in an ungrateful manner. She didn't think that Ji-Yun, with his weak appearance, would be able to protect her. It was already good enough that this guy didn't drag her down. All women need men to protect them. This is what my father always says. Ji-Yun said proudly. Although he was sometimes puzzled, his father often said that women were tigers, but he also told him that men should protect women. These words seemed to be somewhat contradictory, but he did not ask for the reason. In any case, his father would never lie to him. Didn't your father tell you that some women don't need a man's protection? Lung Ruoxue didn't know what to say to that old man from the Ji family. How did he teach his son? He had actually taught a one-track-minded fellow. No, but father told me not to protect all women. I should protect those that I like. Ji-Yun said with a silly smile. His expression seemed to say, it's your honor, right? Thank you for finding me pleasing to the eye. Lung Ruoxue was completely convinced. To be honest, she didn't want to be liked by him, nor did she want to be protected by him. From her point of view, the one who needed protection was this man. However, it was a good thing that his father didn't ask him to protect all the women in the world. Otherwise, this poor fellow would have died of exhaustion. You don't have to be so polite, we're partners. Ji-Yun said in a slightly smug manner. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue could only sigh and didn't want to say anything else. This fellow couldn't show him any respect, otherwise, he would definitely show off. Let's go. After they decided to leave, Ji-Yun urged them. Wait, tell me first, how did you catch up to me? He asked. Lung Ruoxue couldn't understand. According to common sense, it wasn't easy for someone to catch up to her when she teleported. After all, it was hard to determine the coordinates. However, this fellow was still chasing after her. This made her rather depressed because she couldn't get rid of him. This is a secret technique of our family. Ji-Yun said mysteriously, but with a hint of pride. He can catch up to everyone? Lung Ruoxue asked with interest. No, it's hard to track someone who is much stronger than you. Ji-Yun spoke the truth. In truth, in his opinion, their clan's tracking technique was of little value. This was because this technique could only track down people who were not much weaker than him. If it could track everyone, then this secret technique would truly be a priceless treasure. To think that the elders in his family were so smug. He pursed his lips and sighed in his heart. Fortunately, the ancestors of the Ji family didn't know what their descendants were thinking. Otherwise, they would be depressed to death. And the ancestor who created this secret technique would be so angry that he would climb out of hell to settle the score with him. That old ancestor had already died. Chapter 1839, A Feud 2, I See. Hearing Ji-Yun's words, Lung Ruoxue's interest diminished. Ruoxue, shall we go? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't seem too happy, Ji-Yun cautiously asked. Let's go. Lung Ruoxue nodded. She had long wanted to leave this place. If she had not met this fellow, she would not have wasted so much time here. Yes, yes. Ji-Yun hastily nodded his head. After making up his mind to leave this place, he was much calmer and no longer so conflicted. After that, the two of them left together. After getting along for a few days, Lung Ruoxue deeply regretted being together with this fellow. Not only was this fellow a chatterbox, he was also a coward. She had chosen a few paths, but this fellow refused to take them. He even insisted that she follow him and had him lead the way. The consequence of following him was that the more they walked, the more desolate the place became. Like the place they were at now, it was a boundless desert without even a single green spot. If it wasn't for the fact that she understood this fellow, and that Qingju had read his mind and knew that he was not in danger, Lung Ruoxue would have suspected that this fellow had brought her here on purpose. Ji-Yun fearfully looked at Lung Ruoxue's unsightly expression and muttered, This place is okay, but there shouldn't be anyone here. After saying this, he immediately lowered his head, not daring to look at Lung Ruoxue's slightly darkened face. Is this the consequence of you leading the way? Lung Ruoxue said through gritted teeth. If it wasn't for this fellow's pitiful look that made her unable to ruthlessly destroy the flower, she would definitely let him know why the flower was so red. Actually, I'm bad with directions, but my instinct tells me that this place is very safe. Ji-yoon's neck shrunk as he said. Ruoshue was being fierce to him again. However, he had been fierce to her a lot recently, and he had gotten used to it. Moreover, if Ruoshue didn't scold him fiercely every day, he wouldn't be used to it. I can't even see a tree, how can it be unsafe? Lung Ruoshue roared in anger. That's not for sure, but this place is definitely safe. Ji-yoon mumbled to himself in a low voice. Woo. A place without trees might not be safe. If the enemy comes, there's no place to hide. Don't tell me you're thinking of staying here for another month? When Lung Ruoshue heard his words, she asked suspiciously. How could that be? A few drops of cold sweat hung on Ji-yoon's forehead as he said with a silly smile. Actually, he really did have this thought. However, he didn't dare to say it out loud. Otherwise, Ruoshue would definitely be even angrier. If that's the case, let's leave this damn place quickly. Looking at the vast, bare desert in front of her, she really didn't want to stay a second longer. She wasn't a camel, how could she like this kind of place? Ruoshue, this place is really not bad. Ji-yoon still wanted to persuade Lung Ruoshue, but when he saw the warning look in her eyes, he obediently shut his mouth and swallowed all the words he wanted to say. Not bad, you can stay here alone. Lung Ruoshue said in a bad mood. After she finished speaking, she ignored him. Her beautiful eyes scanned the surroundings, trying to find a suitable way out. As far as the eye could see, the yellow sand, coupled with the dark red sky, made people unable to feel happy. Don't. Ruoshue, you're thinking of abandoning me again. Woo. Why am I so pitiful? Ji-yoon said pitifully. He even pretended to wipe away the tears at the corner of his eyes while he peeked at Lung Ruoxue's reaction from the corner of his eyes. Why are you so pitiful? Seeing him acting pitiful again, Lung Ruoxue was so angry that she almost cursed it out loud. Luckily, she managed to hold it in the end. Otherwise, it would affect her image. You always want to abandon me. Ji-yoon said in an aggrieved voice. You're the one who's too unmotivated. Lung Ruoxue spoke the truth. This fellow was always thinking of hiding and even said that he would lead the way for her. However, he was not going to take the right path at all. How infuriating. Immature, Ji-yoon explained in a soft voice. Good. Do you know what practice is? Then do you want to stay here until the end of the competition? Lung Ruoxue said. This fellow's thoughts were too easy to guess. Even with her eyes closed, she knew what he was up to. No, I'll follow you wherever you go. I'm following you. When Ji-yoon heard the danger in these words, he hurriedly expressed his position. Then come with me. Lung Ruoxue didn't waste any words and spoke directly. She knew very well that if she couldn't clear things up with him, this fellow would just be a pain in the ass. Oh. Ji-yoon lowered his head and replied. Then he followed behind Lung Ruoxue like a little wife, walking at a steady pace. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could not help but roar. Can you walk faster? If we move slowly, when will we be able to leave this desert? He really couldn't understand how there could be a desert here. It didn't match the appearance of this special space. I'm hungry, Ji-yoon said as he walked. Seeing him in this state, Lung Ruoxue was roaring in her heart. Why did these words sound so familiar? Oh, that's right, this was what the little fire wolf always said. Ji-yoon's current appearance was exactly the same as the little fire wolf. Could it be that they were brothers? Otherwise, how could they be so similar? She was very suspicious of this. Ruoxue, can you eat something before you leave? I'm about to starve to death. Ji-yoon said with a bitter face. Don't worry, you won't starve to death even if you don't eat. Lung Ruoxue glanced at Ji-yoon as she reminded him. Food is the most important thing to the people. If we don't eat, we'll definitely die. Ji-yoon did not agree with Lung Ruoxue's words. You're a god now. Have you ever seen a god starve to death because they don't eat? Lung Ruoxue suppressed her anger and asked. I will, Ji-yoon said. After he finished speaking, he hurriedly shifted a few steps to the side, afraid that Leng Ruoxue would beat him up in a fit of anger. This was because Ruoxue had used this to threaten him a few times before, and he was deeply aware of it. If you can, then why are you hiding? Leng Ruoxue could not help but laugh. There was nothing she could do to him. I'm afraid you'll beat me up. Ji Yun was very honest and told her everything that was on his mind. His clear eyes were also looking at Leng Ruoxue with vigilance. I won't beat you up. Leng Ruoxue smiled warmly as she promised. There was no sense of accomplishment in beating this fellow up. More importantly, she felt that even if she beat him up, it wouldn't solve any problems because this fellow was not a person with a normal mind. Really? Ji Yun asked, his eyes wide. Yes, come over. Leng Ruoxue coaxed. Then you're not allowed to lie to me. Ji Yun was still worried. I'm not lying to you. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head seriously once more. At this moment, Ji Yun's expression was like a puppy trying to please its master. How could she bear to do this? Then he'll come over. As Ji Yun spoke, he moved towards Leng Ruoxue's side. Just as he moved to her side, Leng Ruoxue grabbed him. In an instant, Ji Yun's face turned pale with fright. His entire body trembled like a fallen leaf in the autumn wind. He seemed to have been tricked. Chapter 1840, A Feud, 3. Why are you shaking? Leng Ruoxue could not help but laugh when she saw his reaction. You lied to me, Ji Yun said in an extremely aggrieved tone. His clear eyes began to water again. I'm not going to beat you up. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. Oh, then why are you pulling me? Ji Yun didn't understand. From his point of view, Ruoxue was just angry out of embarrassment and wanted to vent her anger on him. You're walking too slowly. I can walk faster if I drag you along. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she took out a rope and tied it around Ji Yun's wrist. She held the other end of the rope in her hand. There's no need to do this, right? Ji Yun said somewhat gloomily. If he kept him tied up like this, he would have bad thoughts. I need it. I'll give you two choices now. Either we part ways or I'll take you with me. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. When she saw Ji Yun's face turn red and white, she was in a good mood and spoke in a much friendlier manner. It's better for you to hold on to me. Forced by Leng Ruoxue's tyrannical abuse, Ji Yun had to admit defeat. That's a good girl. Leng Ruoxue extended her hand and patted Ji Yun's head as if she was petting a puppy. She was just short of giving him a bone to chew on. Ji Yun was praised by Ruoxue, but he couldn't bring himself to be happy. This wasn't what he had imagined. At the thought of this, Ji Yun pouted and said with an aggrieved expression, Ruoxue, even though you can walk faster by holding me, I'm a man after all. You should at least give me some face, right? If my Ji clansmen were to see me like this, it would be very embarrassing. You're also afraid of losing face? Leng Ruoxue was very surprised, but she had no intention of letting him go. Instead, she continued, Don't worry. This place is so big that we might not be able to touch your Ji family. What if we run into them? Ji Yun shamelessly asked. Then I can only say that you're too unlucky. Leng Ruoxue's words carried a hint of sympathy, but the expression on her face revealed that she was gloating over his misfortune. AI. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, no matter how stupid Ji Yun was, he knew that Leng Ruoxue would never let go of him. Hence, he could only accept his fate. So, he hoped that he would not meet anyone he knew. Otherwise, he would really lose all his face. Seeing that he had accepted his fate, Leng Ruoxue smiled in satisfaction. Then, she pulled him towards the path that she had chosen. Even though that path was also covered by yellow sand, it was more pleasing to the eye than the other paths. Thus, Leng Ruoxue pulled Ji Yun along and walked over. The two of them walked on the soft yellow sand for an unknown amount of time. Just as they were about to walk out of the desert, they suddenly heard the sound of fighting not far away. Leng Ruoxue's face lit up with joy, while Ji Yun's heart sank. What I'm afraid of is coming true. I didn't expect there to be a fight here. He stole a glance at Lung Ruoxue and prayed that she would not be a busybody so that the two of them could quickly leave this place. It wasn't that he was timid, it was just that he was too lazy and didn't like to cause trouble. He was trying to find a reasonable excuse for himself. Let's take a look over there. Lung Ruoxue clearly did not hear the prayers in Ji Yun's heart. Her tone was firm, and she did not allow Ji Yun to refuse. Ruoxue, that's not a good place. Let's not go there. Let's go another way. Ji Yun's heart trembled. What was he afraid of? He was clearly trying to avoid the participants, but he just had to bump into them here, and in the middle of a fight. If you don't want to exchange, well, go over there. If you don't, Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. However, she only said half of what she wanted to say. As for the other half, she believed that Ji Yun would understand. It's not that I don't want to go, I'm just afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. They're having a good time, so it's not good for us to interfere, right? Ji Yun said in a low voice, not very confident. Who said I'm going to interfere? I just want to take a look. What if it's someone I know? Well, be able to help out when the time comes. Lung Ruoxue spoke the truth. They could help each other here, and this was not against the rules of the competition. If it's not someone we know, then let's leave immediately, okay? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had already made up her mind, Ji Yun could only talk about the conditions. Good. As long as they don't attack us, we'll leave immediately. Lung Ruoxue agreed. Then let's go and take a look. With Lung Ruoxue's assurance, Ji Yun was at ease. The two of them lowered their footsteps and cautiously walked towards the vicinity of the battle. Not far from them, there was a huge tree that blocked their view of the battle. Thus, Lung Ruoxue and Ji Yun hid behind the tree and observed the battle. At this time, there were a total of 5 people in the chaotic battle. It was obvious that there were 2 groups of people because 2 of them were wearing the same clothes, and the other 3 were also wearing the same clothes. Ji Wu Ji Tao. Just as Lung Ruoxue was carefully observing the strength of these 2 groups, Ji Yun, who was beside her, suddenly called out softly. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she couldn't help but turn her head and look at him with slight surprise. You know them? I know 2 of them. The 2 in white are from the Ji family, and the other 3 in gray are the competitors from the Zhou family. Ji Yun's expression was grave as he explained. His originally clear as water eyes grew even deeper. Since we're family, why don't you hurry up and help? Lung Ruoxue saw that although Ji Yun's expression had turned serious, he did not move at all. She couldn't help but remind him. There's no hurry. Let's see how the situation goes first. Ji Yun had suddenly become calm and collected. This caused Lung Ruoxue to cast a sidelong glance at him. She had never thought that Ji Yun would have such a serious side to him. However, if Ji Yun knew what she was thinking, he would definitely be depressed to death. This was because in Lung Ruoxue's eyes, Ji Yun was not a normal person. Ji Yun, why aren't you wearing the clothes those 2 were wearing? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously after sizing up the 2 people in white. From the day she saw Ji Yun, he had always been dressed in black. Why do I have to be like them? Ji Yun said matter-of-factly. Ji Yun's words caused Lung Ruoxue to regret her previous thoughts. Ji Yun was still the same Ji Yun she knew. He had not changed at all. She must have been seeing things before, that's why she felt that Ji Yun had changed into a different person. What's wrong? Am I wrong? Ji Yun looked at Lung Ruoxue and asked cautiously. Right. You're right, but if you don't hurry up and save your clansmen, I'm afraid they'll have to stay here forever. From the corner of her eyes, Lung Ruoxue could see that the 2 men in white were showing signs of exhaustion. Their divine power was obviously running low as well, so she quickly reminded them. I'll go now. When Ji Yun heard this, he immediately felt his heart heat up and spoke with a high-spirited manner. After he finished speaking, he requested Lung Ruoxue to untie the rope. Then he strode towards the few people who were fighting valiantly and in high spirits. All of you stop. Ji Yun shouted loudly as he walked to the side of the 5 people in the chaotic battle. When they heard this sudden voice, all 5 of them were stunned and involuntarily stopped fighting. However, when they saw that the person who stopped them was Ji Yun, the people on the gray-clothed man's side were immediately enraged. I was wondering who was acting like a big shot here. So you're a coward from the G family. The leading gray-robed man sneered. With that, the three other gray-robed men burst into laughter. Clearly, they did not place Ji-yun in their eyes. Jo-kun, you better watch your mouth. Shut up. Ji-woo reprimanded Jo-kun while Ji-yun stood by the side heartlessly, not taking Jo-kun's words seriously at all. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? This Ji-yun is a famous coward of your G clan, and to think that your clansmen are still so protective of him. If he was a member of our Zhou clan, we would have kicked him out long ago. Our clan doesn't need such trash. Zhou Kun's face was filled with undisguised contempt, while the three members of the Zhou family who were standing together laughed even more wildly. Shut your stinky mouth. Zhou Kun, if I don't beat the three of you up until your parents can't recognize you, I'll write the word G backward. Ji Tao roared with a fiery temper. He was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. If he could, he really wanted to rush up and bite the three people from the Zhou family a few times and trample them under his feet. After all, the Zhou family had been the Ji family's archenemy for many years. The two families had always been at each other's throats. Now that they had met here, it was impossible for them to let the other party go. All right, then you can write the word G backwards. Brothers, if the word G is reversed, is it still a word? Ha! Zhou Kun laughed smugly, while the other two members of the Zhou family also laughed wildly in cooperation. In their eyes, the three people from the Ji family were like arrows at the end of their flight and were not worth mentioning at all. Ji Yun was a useless coward who had always been timid and afraid of trouble. On the other hand, Ji Woo and Ji Tao's physical strength and divine power had almost been exhausted by the three of them. They were not their opponents at all. Therefore, it could be said that Zhou Kun and the other two people were completely fearless. Zhou Kun, don't be smug too early. Ji Woo's handsome face was flushed red. He was also quite angry. So what if I'm proud? Our young Master Kun has the right to be proud. The person beside Zhou Kun said with a fawning look on his face. That's right. If your Ji family is tactful, quickly send Ji Min to our Zhou family to be young Master Kun's concubine. If our two families can become in-laws, young Master Kun can take care of you in the future. As for that coward, don't even think about it. The other person also laughed wretchedly. Chapter 1841. You have to protect me. 1. The Ji Min this person was talking about was the eldest daughter of the Ji family. Not only was Ji Min beautiful, but she also had outstanding qualifications. She was also a leader among the younger generation of the Ji family. More importantly, she was Ji Yun's biological sister and doted on Ji Yun. It was precisely because of this that Zhou Kun hated Ji Yun even more. Zhou Kun couldn't understand why such a talented person would love a useless coward so much. He couldn't help but feel envy, jealousy, and hatred. In addition, he had once asked for Ji Min's hand in marriage but was rejected. As a result, as long as he found an opportunity, he would find trouble with the Ji family, especially with Ji Yun. Now that Ji Yun had taken the initiative to come to his door, he naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity. For the purpose of revenge and humiliation, Zhou Kun, who originally intended to make Ji Min his wife, always mentioned that he wanted Ji Min to be his concubine when he mentioned this matter to outsiders or the Ji family. Every time he saw the Ji family's furious and uncontrollable expressions, Zhou Kun could only describe it with one word: pleasure. Speaking of which, he was quite perverted in his heart. The reason why he was like this was because he had been rejected too many times. What made him even angrier was that Ji Min's reason for rejecting him was that she thought he was too rough. However, he knew that this was just an excuse. The real reason why Ji Min rejected him was all because of the useless coward Ji Yun. Because her younger brother needed protection, as an older sister, Ji Min naturally couldn't easily get married. However, that was only Zhou Kun's personal opinion. Apart from Ji Yun, Ji Min was unwilling to marry Zhou Kun because their families were at odds with each other. They were like enemies. With such a relationship, even if she had a good impression of Zhou Kun, it was impossible for her to marry him. Moreover, she did not like Zhou Kun. which was the most important reason. Upon hearing what the Zhou family member said, the short-tempered Ji Tao was indeed enraged. Damn it, I dare you to say that again? Ji Tao's face was red as he roared in anger. If it wasn't for Ji Wu holding him back, he would have already rushed forward and beat this guy up. What's wrong? Quickly send Ji Min to young Master Kun's bed and make her his concubine. From now on, your Ji family will be under young Master Kun's protection. Your useless coward is unreliable. The man provoked him fearlessly. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 more arrogant laughs were heard. Needless to say, they were Zhou Kun and another member of the Zhou family. Zhou Kun, who was standing at the side, felt extremely pleased when he saw his family members humiliating the Ji family members. Although the 2 of them had decent qualifications, they were both from the Zhou family's collateral branch. If they wanted to stand out in the Zhou family, they naturally had to please him. After all, he was not only a direct member of the Zhou family, but he might even become the future head of the Zhou family. Therefore, he was very satisfied with their flattery. He was also willing to give some guidance to such a discerning person. You're looking for death. Ji Tao saw that the fellow really dared to speak, so he immediately broke free from Ji Wu's hand and was about to rush forward to teach him a lesson. However, he was stopped by Ji Yun. Stop! Ji Yun shouted. His face was calm and emotionless, making it impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. When Ji Tao heard Ji Yun's words, he really did stop and turned to look at Ji Yun with a slightly aggrieved expression. They humiliated Sister Min. We can't let them off. Ji Tao reminded. I know, but we're all well-mannered people, so we really shouldn't act rashly. Let's sit down and have a good talk. Let's see how this matter can be resolved. After hearing his words, Zhou Kun and the other 2 could not help but laugh wildly again. But this was the guy that the Ji family had high hopes for. He was just so useless. He never dared to have a direct conflict with others. He always wanted to be the peacemaker and reason with others. In the divine realm, the strong were respected. One's fist was the only way to speak. Whoever had the tougher fist would naturally have the greater right to speak. Someone like Ji Yun was simply an anomaly. Zhou Kun thought to himself in disdain. What's so funny? Am I wrong? Ji Yun said with a confused expression. He was so innocent that he didn't seem to know what they were laughing about. Right, my ass? Who wants to sit down and chat with you? It's embarrassing for us to sit with you. Zhou Kun looked down on Ji Yun at all, but he was extremely jealous of how much Ji Yun was doted on in the Ji family. Therefore, he would rather be beaten to death than sit down and talk with Ji Yun. Was that what a man should do? Young master, don't bother with this kind of uncouth person. It's only disgracing our Ji family by talking to him. At this moment, Ji Wu, who was standing beside Ji Yun, spoke out. From his tone, it seemed as if he was quite doting on Ji Yun. That's right, this kind of person doesn't deserve to live in this world. I'll only lower our class if we lower ourselves to their level. Ji Tao, who had calmed down, was afraid that Ji Yun's self-esteem would be hurt, so he quickly comforted him. At this moment, he could not care about the dispute with the Zhou family. Fuck? What did you say? Ji Wu and Ji Tao's words made Zhou Kun so angry that he roared loudly. He couldn't bear it anymore. He couldn't understand what Ji Yun had done to deserve the protection of the Ji family. It must be known that a useless coward like Ji Yun would belong to the abandoned category in any clan. However, Ji Yun was the exact opposite. Not only was he loved by the elders of his family, but his fellow clansmen of the same generation also took extra care of him. If anyone were to see how the fellow clansmen of the Ji clan took care of Ji Yun, they would probably go crazy. At least he was going crazy. We said you're trash and don't deserve to live in this world. Ji Tao said with a faint smile. He's the trash, okay? Zhou Kun pointed at Yun angrily and roared, Fuck! Was there any justice left in this world? The biggest piece of trash was right in front of them, but the Ji family turned a blind eye to it. Our young master is 100 times stronger than you. You don't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as him. He's not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Ji Tao also said in disdain. Yes, young Master Kun, You are not even qualified to be a servant in our G family. The first and foremost rule of our G family servants is loyalty. You can't. Ji Woo said in a matter-of-fact manner. Ji Yun, on the other hand, still had a confused look on his face, as if he couldn't understand what they were talking about. Lung Ruoxue, who was hiding behind a giant tree, heard the conversation between the two parties. She then looked at Ji Yun's reaction and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't this Ji Yun's reaction a little too slow? However, his temper was really good and he was also patient. She was already pointing at him and scolding him, but he still acted as if nothing had happened. She did not know what he was thinking. Although she was a little curious, she did not let Qing Ju read Ji Yun's mind. After all, it was better to keep some secrets. When she thought of this, she decided to continue closing her eyes. She would only reveal herself when she was needed. Right now, she only hoped that Ji Yun would give her some strength so that no one could bully him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.